All right, what is up, fellow nerds, and welcome to a special Saturday night chat. Dave, Doug, how is it going, young men?
Very well, and you're only 4 months older
I,
than
I
me.
was about to say,
Get
I'm
out with
like, sounding very gentlemanly. Oh, how are you, young man? Ah, well, here
We're
at
the
the
same
gentleman's
age.
chat, I shall pour my scotch and light a cigar. And what shall we be talking about today, gentlemen?
We have a few topics. My top hat is at the cleaners, so I apologize.
Oh
We got actually a lot to talk about today. We got Obi-Wan
my God,
Kenobi
yeah.
episode 4. We got The Boys episode 4. We got Miss Marvel episode 1. We got the Black Adam
Hmm.
trailer that was released. We got the news that the Thunderbolts movie is coming next, or going to start filming next year, but coming to Marvel Studios. The rumor is this is going to be announced at D23 in September. But they already got a director in mind and a whole bunch of stuff leading up, which gets us to our question of the night.
Hey,
And
Now,
what
Keith, one
is
sec.
our...
Hold on, one sec, guys. I think we should wait to hold on to the question of the night until we get some more people on. That way
Okay,
we don't have to repeat it.
I'm fine with that, if you're fine with that.
should we just not talk about anything until people show up?
Oh, no,
No,
no, no.
we can go
I,
into
I
our
get what
I'm
you're saying.
joking. I'm joking.
All right, we should just stop right now.
We're just going to wait till that viewer count hits 10. We ain't saying crap.
I want to see the manager.
Yes, get me the manager. No, we could do that. I mean, I don't mind restating it because when people come on, but we can wait too. That way people can hear our picks also.
Arr,
So
I like that.
I have my order. I have talk about Obi-Wan first, then the boys, then
Okay.
Miss Marvel, then the Thunderbolts movie, or actually Black Adam, and then the Thunderbolts movie. How does that sound for you, gentlemen?
Well, that sounds pretty darn okay to me. We did say our last stream that we were going to be incredibly busy coming up. We knew that there was a whole bunch that was getting ready to drop. I mean, we still have so much more coming out too. I mean, think about it. Like every week, we've got to sit there. Like, okay, Wednesday we've got like 2 shows. Friday we've got 1 or 2 shows depending on like what's to watch. We've got some new movies that are coming up. Your nerds, your fellow nerds, man, we got a full plate.
Now, there is the possibility we may be one movie shy from what we know is releasing soon with all of the Ezra Miller news. I really, with
Hold on, is this a flashback?
it is a flash fact, with the reports of him grooming minors with drugs and alcohol and
Ooh,
stuff.
now I feel bad for laughing.
This is, I mean, I keep thinking about it. How is WB going to release this movie? And the scary part is, there's been a lot of news that they had a test screening of this movie and everybody loved it. And now the star is like just out of his effing mind, and it's scary. You know,
It makes me wonder: are they still going to release it in theaters, or are they going to push it to HBO Max? Because at the same time, if Ezra Miller has completely tarnished his reputation like that, I mean that the movie, when it comes out, wherever it comes out, it's going to end up, bringing with it that negative response. It could make, like the people at WB, at Warner, at whoever owns DC now, make them look terrible for, we're going to make this huge movie theater event. It's going to be everywhere. Oh, yes, by the way, Ezra Miller is a psychopath who rampaged through Hawaii and also groomed minors. Or we can release it directly to HBO Max. Also, this movie is now associated with HBO Max. And it would only be the second worst movie after Wonder Woman 84 that they decided to release.
What sucks is, yeah, like Keith was saying, it might be an awesome movie, but he's effed it up. He's just such a psychopath that he talk about flushing a promising career,
Right.
know. What's he
I have
doing?
to ask you, gentlemen.
What's going on? Somebody needs to counsel that guy. I mean,
Oh,
professional.
he needs something, clearly. But I have a question for you, too, while we're on this topic. When it comes to situations like this, where we've got, actors or artists, whether it's a singer, an actor, whatever, that, does terrible things like this. Like, for example, you remember the whole mess with Louis C.K. a couple years back. Are you able to, or do you believe in separating the art from the artist, or do you think that when an artist does something horrific, like in the case of Ezra Miller, you can't appreciate the art anymore?
I cannot appreciate the art anymore, especially with like Louis C.K. I was a huge fan of his. His comedy was just, the way he crafted a joke was just absolutely incredible. And then you kind of find out about this, and you're like, you can't watch it the same. At least I can't. I'm sure there's people that can separate it, but I cannot. It'd be the same with Ezra Miller. If the Flash movie does come out, and now knowing all of these things he's done since filming has ceased, I don't think I can enjoy it, because I've enjoyed him as the Flash. Like his guest appearance on Peacemaker was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, he was hilarious, and I don't think I can enjoy it anymore. I know that, I don't know if that's right or wrong, but it's just how I see it.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. I think in most cases, that's exactly how I feel. It kind of ruins it for me. I don't. It's not intentional. It's not like, it's just that it brings to mind what happened, and then you're just like, oh, it's kind of cheapens the whole thing, because you'd like them to at least seem like they're cool off screen, that way you could actually feel good about liking their work. And I guess that's what it is, because it does kind of cheapen it for me.
Well, I have another friend that was kind of the same way about Michael Jackson when that Netflix documentary came out, and he refuses to listen to any Michael Jackson songs now. Like anytime something comes over the radio, whether it's at a bar, whatever, he just goes on this whole rant. I can't listen to Michael Jackson. I can't hear it, because whenever I hear his music, it just reminds me of all the horrible things that came out in the documentary.
Well, think about another person that's image is tarnished that is working for DC, Amber Heard.
Yeah.
After this whole trial, and which I did not watch, but seeing some of the clips I've seen online, I kind of wish I would have.
Oh, they're hilarious.
Jason Momoa. I didn't know if that was real or not. I'm cracking up. I'm like, did they really say that in court? But I mean, they're talking now that they're cutting all of her scenes out of Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom, the next movie.
Yeah, I heard that.
I mean,
are they going to reshoot with a different actress, or
not that they said, not that they've commented on, but that leads back to this Ezra Miller thing. I mean, he's the star of the movie. I mean, they can't really cut him out. So if they're handling it, because I don't want to say one is worse than the other, because it sounds like what Amber Heard, did. She was, physically abusive, and then tried to write it off that it was the opposite. Those are not good things either. But I think they're less than what Ezra Miller's doing with who he's doing it to. And I just can't see them releasing this movie with him as the star.
I'm kind of the same way. I that's what I've been thinking about ever since news came out about like the things that he had been doing. I just, and I kind of feel bad for all of the other, the directors, the cameramen, the people that are working on set. Bruce Willis. I mean, not Bruce Willis. Oh my God, why did I say that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Christian Bale. Good for you.
All of the other Batman actors and everything that are supposed to be in the movie. Like, I feel bad because it really does sound like it was going to be an excellent film, but now you've got this mess, and it just kind of ruins it.
Yeah, it really does.
But we can't spend the entire time talking about Ezra Miller and all of these flashbacks. Because as we mentioned in the beginning, we got a full plate of other things. So you said you wanted to talk about Obi-Wan. Sorry, that was a rough transition. I am terrible at this. I'm a hack and a fraud. I never admitted to being any good.
We're going to circle back and we're going to fix
it. let's somehow flashback our way into Obi-Wan.
Doug, that was the best segue I have ever seen in my life.
You might as well have been on two wheels with a little handlebar.
I know, right?
But we did get episode 4 of Obi-Wan this week, which my question for you guys too, not once we always go off on tangents. What did you watch first? Obi-Wan or Miss Marvel, because they both came out on Wednesday.
I watched Miss Marvel first.
I think I did too. Yeah.
I watched Obi-Wan first.
I think
Good
I was.
for you.
I
All
think
right.
because it was a new show. I figure, you know what? Let me go ahead and get this out of the way. I'll figure out if it's if it's any good, if I like it, if I don't like it. Kind of get my my thoughts around it, and then when I'm done with that, then I can sit back and I can enjoy Obi-Wan, because I already know that I, for the most part, like this series. There's a couple of nitpicks that I have with it, but honestly, I feel like that's with any like nerdy thing. Like when you enjoy it and when you enjoy it enough, you nitpick about it.
It's hard not to nitpick unless it's a just completely fantastic, lights out show like Infinity War. I'm sure there's stuff in Infinity War I could nitpick, but I don't see it because I just am totally mesmerized by that film.
Yeah, I think I watched them in that order because when I logged into Disney Plus, Miss Marvel was the first thing that came up. And I just said, okay, that's what I'm here for.
There first.
Yeah. So,
I think that might have been the case for me too. Like it was up there on the banner first for me too, but yeah. Since you watched Obi-Wan before Miss Marvel, what were your thoughts when you watched that episode?
See, I enjoyed the episode. I think out of all of the episodes, it's probably my least favorite. I thought it had a lot of good moments. Ewan McGregor is always awesome. And, the whole premise of this, I kind of like they have to get into this impenetrable fortress. It's like it's a water plant. Well, it wasn't. We obviously know it wasn't.
Didn't seem that impenetrable.
Right.
But, I was like, oh, this could be good. And I know Dave has a lot more nitpicks than I do. I had two things that I was kind of like...
He absolutely does have some nitpicks.
And my first one, nothing against the actress who was playing little Leia. But to put her in the same scene with Reva, I thought just did her a disservice. Because Reva is, Moses Ingram, is a Yale-trained actress who really honed her craft for many, many years. And you could just tell. I mean, she outclassed that poor little girl in that scene, and I thought it was a disservice to her to put her in that scene. Even though she did, I think she's doing good. As a child actor, she's fine. But to put her in, even with Ewan McGregor, I mean, it's like it just shows that she has years needed to hone her craft. I was just kind of like disappointed. And I thought it was a good scene, and I liked it, and we'll talk about what we think happened during that scene too. But then the last one was like when they're escaping from the Inquisitor's palace, and those snowspeeders just show up like out of nowhere and start blasting to save them. I was like, I didn't like that choice. I was like, they should have done something else to get escape out of there, because the whole base is on alert, and they're walking out with a girl under a cape, and no one's really stopping them. And I guess maybe the alerts are going off.
Problems.
And then all of a sudden just blasting and they escape. I'm like, they really could have handled that better. It didn't completely ruin the episode for me, but it was still one of those things where I was just like,
yeah. I totally get that, because I was thinking kind of the same thing. So when I did sit down and I watched it, I thought pretty much the same thing as you. Like, this wasn't my favorite episode out of the bunch. I think I preferred the week before, last week's episode, versus this one. There was just quite a few things. But going back to what I said, because I do enjoy the overall Star Wars universe, and I do kind of enjoy the series so far, I am being fair to it, and I am nitpicking it rather than just dismissing it outright.
I mean, I don't want to be one of those people that just takes anything Star Wars and says you have to watch it just because
you can't do
Star
that.
Wars.
Can't do that. Because then we would
but
have
at
to
the same
accept
time,
the last or the Rise of Skywalker.
Right. I mean, at the same time, I'm sitting there thinking, all right, I was really looking forward to the show. Obi-Wan. I want to know about Obi-Wan. I want to go on adventures with Obi-Wan. Mm-hmm. And it just hasn't really, to me, I just felt like it's all fan service. It's not, there's no real plot here.
Well, I mean, there's plot. I mean, I came into the show thinking, what can they do in this time period? I mean, he can't go on this amazing galactic adventure because, they were like, you've been hidden away for 30 years. So they had to keep it a little low key. And I won't say I'm disappointed, but I do think it could be better. I mean, you look at...
You should do an adventure as a Force Ghost.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like the Book of Boba Fett to me, where I thought it was good. It wasn't the direction I thought they were going to go in. There was still some good parts about it, but the best part of it was when they were showing, the Mandalorian season 3.
Right, Mandalorian season 3.
Yeah, exactly. 2.5 or whatever.
Yeah.
But, there are some good things, and I think, like, the acting has been pretty phenomenal. I think, seeing Obi-Wan in this episode start to get back his swagger a little bit was nice. They didn't rush him back to being this full
Obi-Wan
Jedi.
got his groove back.
Yes. Coming next week on Disney Plus. So it's not all bad, but it is. It's not like I'm like watching it like Empire Strikes Back, and I'm just like, yes.
Yeah, you're not riveted. It's not really sucking you in like you want it to, but it's just not. There's something missing, and it's like the plot points are, things that you probably might want to happen, but they might not be happening in the order that you want them to. Like me, for instance, with the Vader thing, but other things that it's just not having as deep an impact as you would want it to either. It's like something is missing in the storytelling to make it deeper.
And they really need to make that Vader scene work where they had it in the 3rd episode. That has to show how much Obi-Wan has come back during this series, when at the end, if they do, they have to fight again. And Obi-Wan has to get the best of him again, because for 2 things. It'll show Obi-Wan's journey back into becoming, basically a powerful Force user. And it'll also make sense for the New Hope. The last time I saw you were the master. Yeah. Because the writer has said, with the Grand Inquisitor, with what happened to him, they're not breaking canon. So I think if like Darth Vader kicks the crap out of him again, I think that almost breaks canon. Will I be upset if that happens? I don't know about upset, but I think it'll lessen my enjoyment of the show.
Yeah.
Well, I got a couple of. You want to hear a couple of my nitpicks?
I would love to hear some of your nitpicks. I was trying to set that up earlier.
Is the first one going to be the one scene where Obi-Wan kind of gets his groove back with the Force a little bit?
No, that's not number one.
Because I have what's the first one?
I have a few, but I think that's one of them. If Tala outranks the security guard, then why is he giving her so much crap? And then after she just speaks to him after saying, you can't go in there, and then she says, I outrank you. And then all she does is give him a stern talking to, and he's like, all right, go on in. What's he there for?
There's 2 things. In the military, if you are security or a guard, rank does not matter.
Yep.
And 2, she said, I've got, secret information or whatever. Once again, I'm not saying this is the greatest way to handle it, but she's like, I have, secret information for the Grand Inquisitor or whatever. So he was like, oh shit. With the way the Inquisitors and Darth Vader act towards people, he was probably like, shit, I better take my chances and let her through. Because she wasn't.
Well, that's how everybody acts towards each other in the Empire. Everybody just gives each other shit all day long. That's it.
To a point, the
pleasant conversations until Bill Burr comes in the situation.
The other officers don't go around killing each other, though. It's really just like the Dark Force users.
Yeah, it's like if I mess up, I was talking to, you guys know Charlie. I was talking to Charlie about this the other day, and we were saying, now, if you're that guard, right? If you're the guy letting people in or out, and if you let her in and you're not supposed to, you're pretty much going to get force choked to death. You know what I mean? So,
and you're also thinking
if you're not doing your job right.
If he keeps her out and she had important information for the Grand Inquisitor, he's getting force choked either way. So he was just like, you know what? I'm letting her in.
I'm out. I'm tapping out, folks. You see me on the next shuttle.
No, I definitely I have to agree with I have to agree with Keith as far as like the whole military thing went. I'm aware of many conversations that have gone like that, where you've got, some like full bird colonel or something trying to pull rank and be I left my ID in my other vehicle or whatever, and I'm sorry, sir, you know the rules. I'm gonna have to call, make sure like anybody can, buy a pair of PTs and try to get in on post. I can't just let you in onto a secure base unless until we know who the hell you are. So like, yeah. It's a lot of times where like, here's a good, for instance, I was trying to, I don't know why, I was on vacation one time in Georgia, and I was trying to go on to post at Fort Benning in Georgia, figuring, oh, what the hell, I did basic training here, I'll check it out, see what's going on. They would not let me in. I'm like, they're like, you're not supposed to be here. I was like, okay, well, fine, turn my vehicle around, I gotta go. Unfortunately, I didn't have any sort of secret, top secret information to give to the grand drill sergeant.
Now the question is about that scene too.
Mm-hmm.
When she said, "I have information for the Grand Inquisitor," does everyone not know that the Grand Inquisitor was basically struck down by Reva? Because he kind of gave her a look like, does she not know? Because I thought he knew and was like, why does she not know? But then he let her in, and I'm like, okay, I'm not really sure what just happened.
It could be that he's already recovering at this point. They just
maybe they don't want to make it common knowledge either. That the Grand Inquisitor could be struck down.
Or, it could just be writers.
I just thought that it was funny that an Inquisitor was interrogating. She was inquisitioning.
Inquisition.
Leia, like they wouldn't have somebody else to do that.
I get why they did it though. In the everything mirrors everything as far as like Star Wars goes. They've said that so many times. Leia was in A New Hope being what do you call it? Interrogated by Vader. So
you are part of the Rebel Alliance. Take her away.
I understood why they were doing it. Like I got it right away. I was like, okay, I know what they're doing.
Well, plus, remember, Reva has shown the ability to basically pull thoughts out of people's minds, like she did in episode 2.
Yeah,
Camille Ninjari. I think that's why she was there.
Yeah, in the story, I get why. Yes, as far as the story is concerned, yes. I'm talking about like just in the grand scheme of how they structure Star Wars properties. I got why they decided to do that scene.
Me and Keith were talking earlier in the week about this, like what he just said. She was in there and she said, "Oh, you're strong," and I think that she meant that she sensed the Force in her. That's what I
think so too.
I mean, she would almost have to, because
wonder why like she would have never mentioned it to Vader or to anybody else. Like, I don't know.
I have a thought on that
right now.
I think the reason she may have not won't mention it to Vader is because power is everything within the Inquisitors and Vader and everything else. And if this is something she can keep to herself to maybe give to someone else in power, this is information. Information is strength, basically. So I think she has to know that she's Force sensitive, because they pick up kids everywhere. The Jedi, and the Sith pick up kids when they sense that they're Force sensitive. And Leia, we know, is Force sensitive, so she has to know. So is she keeping that information for herself to use down the line? And maybe I thought she was going to tell Vader when he was Force choking her at the end, like, that kid is Force sensitive. But instead she said, hey, I planted the tracker. So she's got little bits of information she's keeping to herself until it's either going to save her or help, move her, advance her within the ranks of the Inquisitors.
My next question: why even? It's not like a criticism, but it's like, why even have the tomb?
It's like a trophy.
Is it a shrine? Is it a shrine to Vader's kills? What is it?
I thought it was more in line with how the Emperor was attempting his whole cloning and trying to get like Force powers. I thought it had something to do with that, because they foreshadowed it back to Order 66. Well, also it goes back to if you remember that episode of Rebels where he had Cad Bane try and get that holocron that had force sensitive.
Wait,
kids.
was that Rebels or was that Clone Wars?
Clone Wars? Sorry.
Okay, no, I just wanted to.
Clone Wars. Yeah.
Like,
I mix up the two every now and again. But yes, in the episode of Clone Wars where he sent Cad Bane to go and get that holocron that had force-sensitive kids on it. I think it's kind of the same idea. I think this has been, or at least are trying to establish now, that this has been his plan all along, trying to gather force-sensitive kids to either assist him in his cloning experiments or to raise more acolytes and inquisitors and whatnot.
you know, it's funny you say that because I didn't think about because we know that they took Grogu's blood in the Mandalorian to try with this, and they weren't in amber, which we know is how they clone the dinosaurs to make Jurassic Park and Jurassic World.
That was exactly what I was thinking.
That's good. I bet that's what they're doing. They're almost like doing everything they can, little bits here and there to make the whole. And somehow the Emperor came back. You know, makes sense.
Right.
They're
Somehow.
JJ sitting there. See, I was good. I was right. Shut the hell up. Do you realize how many backflips we've had to do to make your movie work?
He like keeps knocking on the writer room door.
It didn't work.
Are we doing something in this episode about how Palpatine cloned himself? Can we have some Jedis in amber? Hey, let me in.
We've literally created this entire series to make your movie make sense.
Where you going?
Now we need like an establishing shot in the Obi-Wan series of Exegol and a whole bunch of people building ships and then burying them in the snow.
Underwater.
Underwater or wherever they were.
Reva's going to go to Exegol to hide because
Right.
from Vader's wrath, and he can't sense her because there's so much dark force energy in there.
All right, here's my next question.
All right.
Obi-Wan tells Tala that he needs a distraction, right? But he doesn't mention when or where, and Tala sends somebody exactly to where they're going to torture Leia. How did she know, and why didn't she know to go directly to that room before?
I don't know. It could just be one of those like TV moments or movie moments or wherever or whatever where they decide that they don't need to explain every piece of information. Maybe they assume that this was something discussed. Maybe they've got trackers with each other. I don't know.
Maybe they have edited a scene out that
it could be.
shows that
It
she
could very
figured out
well
where
be.
she was.
Yeah.
You know, that happened to Fantastic Four, I guess, right? They edited the whole plot
They
out
edited
of
an
that.
entire half a movie out.
Well, they
out
did
of
that.
Fan Four Stick.
They did that to David Ayer's Suicide Squad too. I guess there's a deleted scene that explains between the bar scene and everyone joining together to go march off that helps make a little more sense. Which is why
It's the Ayer cut.
I would be fine with them releasing that cut just to see what it really is. I doubt I would think it's the best thing ever, but it's got to make more sense than that movie.
No, that movie was problematic from the beginning. It didn't make any sense at all. The fact that they put together the Suicide Squad to fight a monster that they basically created by putting together the Suicide Squad and then didn't think to call in the Justice League to handle this threat, that whole movie didn't make sense.
Good.
You want me to keep going?
Yeah.
I have about half a page left. So all of the action seems very slow to me. They could have even if he's acting slow, they could speed up the footage a little bit. Just like when he runs, it's like he's speed walking. You know, it's not a major thing, but it's kind of a nitpicky thing.
There was another video that explained the reasoning why, or at least they think the reason why that is, especially in the in episode 3, where it didn't seem like he was running very fast away from Vader. I guess it has to do with the set size.
Well, for him running away from Vader, I thought he was doing it to make sure that Vader stayed on his trail so Leia and Tala could get away. That's how I saw that scene.
That might be the story reasoning behind it, but yeah, as far as like the practical reason, they said that the set is just too small for them to do any sort of like fast movement scenes like you would see in a movie.
Okay. I mean, and he might be slower because he's like mine and Keith's age. but you could still speed up the footage. Maybe, I don't know. But
He's been out of practice for a long time.
this is one of my other peeps on here down the list, but I want to do it now. Reva keeps calling Obi-Wan an old man, and I'm just like, he's like my age, up yours, old man.
Oh, Dave. Oh.
A child and an old man. Will you just lay off the old man stuff? All right. He's like my age.
You're just a wise Jedi, Dave.
If I had hair, you'd know I'd look older.
I tell you what, why don't you ask Keith's kids if you're old?
According to them, I'm pretty much the oldest dude around.
Okay, here's one. Mm-hmm. When Obi-Wan says, "Tala, where are you?" and she's got the two stormtroopers, she hits one in the head like that, and it incapacitates him completely. She grabs his gun, and the other guy doesn't do anything while she's smacking him, and she just shoots him.
I noticed that too.
I mean, are you serious? That's all it takes?
They are stormtroopers. They're not the brave.
I thought that too.
I thought that showed the big mistake the Empire made in the Bad Batch by dropping the clone army and going with, non-clones. They're not very bright. They're not good shots.
You know, one thing that I really wish that they would allow, at least in one piece of Star Wars property, I want a couple of competent stormtroopers. Just a few. Like, they can't all be the worst. Because I remember there being an explanation behind the way that they acted on the Death Star in Episode 4 as being intentional. They weren't really in pursuit of them. They purposely let them get away. The whole point was because a tracker had been placed on the Millennium Falcon so they could get away, so that way they could find the Rebel base. Like, the whole point of them purposely, like, missing their shots and everything was to let them escape. So I understood that explanation, and it made more sense when Obi-Wan said earlier, those are precise shots, only those that an Imperial stormtrooper can make or whatever. And I was like, it makes them sound like, oh, these are militarily trained. Yeah, sure, they're not as good as the clones, nowhere near as good as the clones, but they should have enough training to be competent, or at least some of them should be. Like, they shouldn't all be literally the worst. And I remember in Rebels, where for a while it seemed like every other episode they would knock out a stormtrooper, steal their costume. They have to have 30 stormtrooper costumes on the Ghost.
Well, remember when Ezra was in the academy too. If you showed any quality, any aptitude towards anything, you were taken out of the stormtrooper program. So it's like, if you showed, hey, I can actually read. They're like, oh, let's move you to pilots, or let's move you. Because even, Bill Burr's
to go out and get killed. That's what they are.
Even Bill Burr's character was like, he was so upset they called him a stormtrooper.
Yeah.
I wasn't a stormtrooper, jackass.
Look, I didn't fly all the way here from Space Boston. Where is that?
Space Southie.
Okay. Space Jersey.
I sent some pictures. If you want to put them up, you can, but I'm just going to mention what they're about. When the window finally breaks underneath the water, and the water comes crashing in, and Obi-Wan runs to the end of the hall to get into the other hall, right? And the water's chasing him, and they close the door right behind him, but not a single drop of water came into the room that they were in. Obi-Wan's not even wet.
Those pictures are up, yeah.
Okay.
So so you know, he used the Force to keep all of the water in that one room while the doors were shutting.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
They should have showed that.
You didn't see him concentrating? You didn't see him concentrating?
No. What?
You didn't see him concentrating?
When the water broke?
No.
Not when he was running?
When he escaped out of the room, he had a bead of sweat running down his head, and he was like...
And then neither Leia or Tala got wet either. It's just amazing. It's just a huge air bubble right there, and incredible.
I was gonna make a joke there, but I won't. I'll be good.
The next point I was gonna make Keith already pointed it out about a guy in the hangar with a trench coat while everyone's on high alert.
That seems perfectly normal.
Right? Yeah. Let's leave that alone. Let's keep going. Oh, and then the pilots arrive. Oh, I thought it was kind of weird that the seeker droid that's programmed to seek people in the hallway instead of their cell, when he jumps into a room and closes his door, this thing can't sense him behind the door that has a window on it.
Like with a heat sensor or something?
Yes, anything. Because if you remember in A New Hope, like within the first 20 minutes of the movie, R2 detects sand people.
Hey, that's our word. You can't use that.
They're Tusken Raiders, dude.
I can't use sand people?
No, man.
That's
So
racist.
R2 detects. I thought he meant R2. That's why I was like,
How dare you call him R2? His name is R2D2.
what am I going to backpedal on here? I'm talking about a robot. Anyway. So R2 detects these creatures from the southeast, and there's no way he could have seen them in that scene. And in fact, Luke and C-3PO both look both directions as if they could not see anything. So if they got a droid that can detect life forms approaching from the southeast that are out of sight, why wouldn't they have a seeker droid in the prison designed to keep people in the cells be able to sense if someone was on the other side of a door?
Well,
Do you want to know why?
I will answer that for you. For starters, we know that R2D2 has that little thing that comes out of his head, like when he was in the swamp in Dagobah, that he
Show
can
the
see
scene.
out of, and he. They don't have to show the scene. They've addressed.
Yes, you
it
do.
before.
That's the whole
no,
point.
they don't. They don't. They know.
They do. They do.
Plus, sand people. Just because you said they weren't seen doesn't mean they weren't moving, so they could see these people. If you know
But did you
anything,
know-
Tusken Raiders. I didn't use your disgusting word for them. The Tusken Raiders. You know, anytime you're sneaking up on an enemy camp or approaching, you know, you are going to be seen a little bit. R2 detected that movement, and that's how he was able to let C-3PO, a protocol droid,
I should have also
who's not
put in the
made to
next-
see it.
I should have also put in the next scene where it took them, you know, they had to go on top of a hill to even see where they were. He had
Because
to
they
look
saw
down
him.
from a mountain.
They saw him, and then they hid.
Oh, okay.
Because
All
they
this
saw
stuff
him
happened
there,
off
and then they
screen,
went
too,
away.
and off
Of
plot.
course. You know, they
You're
can't be
making
the 20.
assumptions.
It can't be the
Don't make
24-hour
assumptions.
Star Wars channel. Well, you're
you
like,
Minutes.
Can I
I
offer
did
a
not
grab
much
a thing
simpler
from the other room.
explanation?
I did not see Luke Skywalker wake up and brush his teeth and get ready. How did he wake up? Does he never sleep?
No, he didn't do it.
He must be
just got up
something
and left.
crazy to never sleep.
What are you going to say, Doug?
I said, can I offer a much simpler explanation?
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay.
How boring.
All right. So once again, your question is, why couldn't this seeker droid be able to somehow find Obi-Wan, who was hiding like right by him, right?
Yes, right through the door.
Yeah.
Why
Okay.
couldn't you sense it there?
Do you want to know why?
Yes.
So the show could happen.
No, not
I actually
come on.
like that explanation better.
I mean, think about it. These are
cannot
real.
have the droid catch the main star of the show that the show is named after right there before it's even over. It's so the show can happen. That's why.
Now,
You
remember-
suspend a little bit of disbelief.
It wouldn't be able to use its optical sensors or even heat sensor between those doors when he's out of sight. It's not going to work.
Something,
That's not how
something
those
before.
things work.
Who knows?
Then why do they have droids that why haven't at all? If this thing can't do things that humans can't, if it has to see things, it's a secret droid. It's made to sense powers or a
Much-
human
Much like
what-
R2, if he would have peeked around the corner and went back and his optical sensor was in that direction, he would have noticed him. But because he was behind that door, he couldn't notice him.
Okay.
It's all
Okay.
Star
I'm
Wars
not,
facts.
I'm not
here.
buying it, but, but that's all
According
right.
to my notes here,
Oh, he's
says,
got notes.
I'm going to need you to get all the way off my back about why the droid couldn't sense Obi-Wan. Thank you.
Well, these are just questions I have. That's all. They're questions. All right. You already went over the precisely time where the fighters got there. That was kind of strange.
Yeah.
But
Convenient.
in my opinion,
Convenient.
Darth Vader would not wait to hear what Reva had to say.
No,
just
he
like
would have
remember
choked her out and
Captain
killed her.
Nita. Yeah, you would have just walked in and killed her.
Yeah.
Remember Captain Nita from The Empire Strikes Back?
Mm-hmm.
Your apology accepted. Just
Yeah.
whatever you say, I'm just going to kill you anyway. Boom. So I thought that was a little out of character.
In the 2007 series, or 2007 series, he did that all the time. There was so many Inquisitors that he killed off to the point where the Grand Inquisitor finally came up to him and be like, "We're not going to have an Inquisitorius if you keep killing all my guys. Like, you gotta stop doing that." Because he would choke them out for the dumbest. Like, a guy would forget his belt and, "Oh, you're dead."
Which
So
is
yeah,
how it
I
should
thought
be
that was really weird too. I thought for sure, I'm like, "Oh, she's dead. They're gonna kill her off right here." And then when he let her explain, I'm like, that doesn't make sense compared to the previous episode where he was snapping people's necks in the street like it was nothing.
Well, those weren't Inquisitors too. I mean, Force-sensitive people probably rank a little higher than non-Force-sensitive people.
So do you think at this point in the story he's finally a little bit he's not as quick to kill Force-sensitive folks?
I think because Obi-Wan was involved, he was thinking, as soon as she started to explain a little bit, he was probably like, I'll listen to it. If it's good, I won't finish the choke. Because, planting the tracker in Lolo was pretty smart.
That was pretty smart, yeah.
Well, in my opinion, he wouldn't have waited to hear what she had to say. She was up in the air for a long time. And he was at the height of his, I made a new word. He was at the height of his Vaderdom.
The height of his Vader. That's pretty true.
But and he's learned.
No patience.
Oh, yeah, he can sometimes display patience. I mean, I think he does what he needs to get the information that he needs to do the best thing. Like, he doesn't just kill allies indiscriminately all the time. The Force-sensitive ones, I should say. He'll do it to, like, a General Neater or all of these other people because he doesn't respect them. But I think he has a little bit of respect for Reva because of her ambition. And he's obviously had dealings with her, and I think he's allowing her just enough rope to hang herself.
For now,
exactly.
Oh yeah, she's still not going to make it. I don't think she's going to make it out of season 1. But it'd be cool if they introduced like a Grand Moff Tarkin to Vader, and understand their dynamic a little bit. But I guess that would be a Vader show.
Well, like I said in the I think, was it last episode or the episode before that where we streamed? I said that one of my favorite stories between Tarkin and Vader was where Vader had asked Tarkin and some of his troops to hunt him. And that was just one of the dynamics that they had between the two of them. This respect for each other's skills. And that was one of the few things that Vader actually respected out of Tarkin, was that he was a strategist, and he was a good strategist. And he was apparently a very good commander. And I believe, if I remember right, that story came to a draw.
Yeah, they did a great job with Tarkin in those comics because he was respected by not only Vader, but the Emperor, too. Mm-hmm. And they really did a good job of explaining. He was very Grand Admiral Thrawn-esque in his ability to discern things. Like, he is a good judge of character. Like, kind of like what could have happened with Vader and Reva. Like, he knows this guy's useless. I'm just going to kill him. Where he knew, okay, she might be of some use to me, at least in hunting down Obi-Wan. So I'm going to keep her because she figured out where he was. She, kidnapped Leia to get Obi-Wan out in the open. She did a lot of things good to get him there. Now, losing him, I'm sure, was very upsetting to Lord Vader. But she did some good things to get him there. So he was probably looking at it both. I really thought,
were actually bad things.
Yes, you're right. Bad things. All right. But I thought for sure during this escape that the non-fifth brother, not the third sister Reva, the other Inquisitor that's been walking around, I've never seen or heard of before, I thought for sure Obi-Wan and her were going to duo and he was going to kill her. She's like still there. I have no idea who she is. I was going to look it up on IMDb just to see if they've named her because she's going to die. We know that. And I thought for sure it was going to happen this episode. So I was a little disappointed that it didn't happen in this episode with Obi-Wan, fighting to get out, fighting her to save Tala and Leia, winning and once again, gaining back some of his mojo, getting his Jedi back. It's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to be episode 5 or 6, but if that Inquisitor does not die, I'm going to be rioting in the streets.
You're going to go find her and kill her yourself.
Yes. I'm an actor. Shut up.
Wait,
You need to
is that
die.
real?
Is that a toy lightsaber?
Does it spin? Is it got that 500? You bought it for $500? Remember that one we were talking about?
Yeah. Oh God, I still can't believe Hasbro.
Hasbro, that's what it was.
Yeah.
So we got 1 point left, and I don't know if you have any
Before your
points,
point, I've got a quick question.
Okay.
What I was talking about earlier with the whole mirroring of
No, you're
like I had mentioned with
no, we're talking
them interviewing or not
What do you want to talk
interviewing, interrogating Leia as
Yeah.
That's supposed to mirror how she was interrogated in episode 4. Do you
You
think
can come down later.
Reva
Okay,
placing
thanks,
the tracker in the robot to go onto the ship with them? Do you think that was again a mirror of Vader doing that with the Millennium Falcon?
Yep, I did. Yep, and all was missing was a Leia on the ship saying they let us go.
Right. Well, maybe that's why she said that in episode 4, because she's been through it before.
Yep. Vader learned from this to do it to the Millennium Falcon.
And Leia has learned from this.
Yep. And just so you know, I looked it up. She is the 4th sister.
Oh, the one that
The
hasn't
one-
died yet? The one
Yes.
that you're now obsessed with?
The one who will die.
You're on a list now. You know that, right, Keith?
I wouldn't say I'm obsessed. Wait, yes, I would. She's going to die, and I need to see it. It needs to be at the hand of
Man,
Obi-Wan.
what's that? Our channel got banned? Oh.
I wasn't threatening
All right,
her.
my last point. O'Shea Jackson Jr. That's Ice Cube's son. He plays Roken. And Roken said the Inquisitors came and took his wife. Now, does that mean his wife was a Jedi or she was Force sensitive? What does
Force
that mean?
sensitive. Because he said I knew what she was when I married her. So I guess it could be either. We don't know enough of that backstory yet. But she was definitely Force sensitive, and she may have been a Jedi on the run after Order 66.
Well, you also have to figure that Anakin couldn't have been the first one that the Jedi Council said, yeah, we're not going to train this dude because, they're too full of fear, they're too old or whatever. I'm sure there was plenty of other people that they discovered that were 12 or older, and they're like, sorry, you got the Force, but can't do anything with you.
It was almost like, I know you guys didn't read the Wheel of Time or watch the show yet, but there's a spellcasters. They weave magic, and the women will not let you into the school if you're not strong enough. They can sense how strong you are,
Really?
and if you're not strong enough, they won't train you. It's not worth their time. So they have a bunch of women that are around that were basically, I can't remember what they're called, but they're basically women who can touch magic, but they're not strong enough to really be any good with it. They can do simple parlor tricks. And I wonder if there was a lot of Force-sensitive people that were brought to the Jedi Temple, and they just weren't strong enough to really do any. They weren't strong enough to become a Jedi Knight, basically.
They were witches. What was her name?
Aes Sedai.
Yeah, I don't think as far as the
the witches of Dathomir in
Yeah,
Star
that's it.
Wars.
Yeah, I don't think as far as Star Wars and the Jedi Council, I don't think it's a lack of strength that they wouldn't let somebody become a Jedi, because there were plenty of people that weren't as in tune with the Force that would still be Jedi just because they, some people were better with the living Force, some with what is the other one called?
The Living Force and
what's the other one? Well, whatever it is. There were
The
people
Dead
that
Force.
were more in tune with different aspects of the Force. Some people that were a little bit on the spectrum of being a little bit towards the dark side, more towards the light, things like that. So I don't think it's a matter of strength. Again, I think it really did boil down to, are you afraid? Are you towards, do you feel anger? Do you have fear? These kinds of things that I think that they were always looking out for. And I think if, again, going back to in the case with Anakin, they felt you're too old, you've got too many connections, we don't want to train you. Why they still let it happen after the fact? Yeah, I don't know.
because he was going to bring balance to the Force by murdering all of those Jedis we saw at the basement of the Inquisitor's lab.
Force was too light.
They had they had to bring the light side a little down to even it out with dark.
Oh, too much dark, too much dark.
Whoa, slow down.
That's
And that's
not
all
balance.
I got. You got something?
Yeah, oh my gosh, I did have There was, oh Lord, what was it? I was gonna say something, and then, wow, my brain is terrible. Oh yeah, I did have another question. So, do you both remember when they ended up killing off uh the stormtrooper chick in the shiny armor in the new sequel series?
Yes,
Captain
why can't I remember?
Phasma.
Captain Phasma.
There we go.
You remember
Yes.
the outrage that people had when they're like, "Oh my gosh, she's like this great character. We need to know more about her," and then they killed her off. Since you were both alive when the Star Wars movies originally were in theaters, um, was there any sort of outrage like that when Tarkin was killed off in after Episode 4, or did people not care?
Tarkin?
Well, there may have
Not
been,
for
but
Tarkin.
well, there may have been. There wasn't the internet like there is now. There wasn't Twitter where you could see everyone's opinion in real time. But I don't think. I mean, I wasn't upset that Tarkin was killed. It
No, I
seemed
think
like
the only thing that came out of that was Boba Fett. You know, because he only had like what 5 lines in the whole first trilogy.
if that.
So that's what people were upset about in the first set.
But yeah, I don't think
Oh,
anyone
with
was upset.
Boba Fett.
I don't think anyone was upset that any character was kind of killed off early,
Okay.
not get enough screen time.
So I have to think like again, going back to like the conversation we had about the respect that him and Vader had for one another. You almost wonder if there was some sort of like angry fan that was like, "I'm going to make my own fan fiction where he makes it off the Death Star."
He's traveling in an escape pod, calling the Emperor when he's trying to order his pastrami on rye.
I'm mailing this to George Lucas right now.
And he doesn't care about the side because he's not even going to eat it.
I'm not even going to eat it.
You see, I always order the wrong thing.
He's crying. He's crying.
It's such a good take.
It really is. That should just be our next stream. We just watch that robot chicken clips of Star Wars. We don't even talk. We stare
and laugh.
and laugh.
We get copyrighted for that.
Oh, the sound will be off the entire time, so nobody even knows what we're watching.
Yeah, only we can hear it.
Oh
Oh my god, I can't believe he said that.
Put the video out on YouTube. It'll be just us like.
Yeah.
Well, we do got some more. We had 5 viewers. We had a few more in. I know Cajun the Red Leo popped in. I don't know if he's still here. Should we talk about our question of the week here?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
One second, let me.
I just don't want to go over my answer twice.
I get it, man. So we're gonna move the screen a little bit.
Do you have like the question up in words or
No,
something?
we just got a picture of the Thunderbolts up
Ooh.
now. You'll see it on your thing here in a minute. But our question of the week, for those of you out there in the chat, we know the Thunderbolts movie is coming or beginning to film next year. So what character or what would you like to see in said movie? And I can go first if you guys want. I would give
Yeah, go ahead.
the time people to chat. First thing I thought of when this happened is I want Bullseye from the Netflix Daredevil series to be a part of this team. I can't remember the guy's name that played him, but he
Tom
was
something.
yeah.
Oh, now he's got to look. He's got to look now.
Sorry, my Galactus Funko Pop that you used to see in the background broke. So now he's just a head and a body. And I put him over here and I forgot to see. You can actually almost see the top of his head right there. But yeah. Yeah, unfortunately. Maybe I'll get a bigger stand so his head can be peering at us. But I definitely want to see Bullseye because for those of you that don't know about the Thunderbolts, I am going to show another tweet here real quick. Oh, I screwed that up. Let's do that
Just have to
again.
wait for one moment.
Okay, we'll wait for Dave to get back because I think he should hear this, but you'll see the tweet up on the screen from their creator, Kurt Busiek, who is a writer for Marvel. He's done a lot of Avengers and all this other stuff.
Series pitch. I sold the fastest, all of Marvel's most reassuring heroes have vanished in onslaught, and the public is scared. So when a new team rises, people are relieved and grateful, but they're really the masters of evil in disguise, and they're out to take over the world.
And this was his response to Eric Larson from Image Comics, saying, "As brief as humanly possible, ideally ideally your introductory letter could fit in a single tweet." And this, I don't know if you guys have read this, the initial Thunderbolts run. And
Nope.
if you know what Onslaught is, Onslaught was a huge event in the 90s. It was absolutely terrible. Basically, Onslaught was Magneto and Professor X formed into this super being of some kind, their consciousness or something, and they basically wiped everybody out. It was terrible. Some of the 90s comics was really bad, and this was one of them that I really disliked. And so everyone, like this Onslaught, wiped a ton of heroes out, and then basically the Thunderbolts, Zemo as Citizen V came and said, "We are a new team of heroes here to help you out." And it was basically the Masters of Evil. Like Atlas was formerly Giant Man, Songbird is now Meteorite, Screaming Mimi is now Songbird, and it was really well done because they come up and are like, "We're gonna, be nice and save people, but we're really gonna take over the world, and we'll do it in a certain way." And a lot of these ex-villains liked being a hero, so they decided to stay being a hero when Zemo tried to take over and turn against them.
You want to go next, Doug, or you want me?
Sure. So we had kind of briefly talked about this.
We'll call Uncle Danny tomorrow. We'll get straight.
I want to say early last year, back when oh my gosh, what's his name? I am so terrible. He passed away this year. The guy who played,
William Hurt.
Yes, thank you. So I would love to see Red Hulk appear in the Thunderbolts. I assume they're going to have to replace him, which sucks because I thought he did a really good job playing Thunderbolt Ross. I thought he did.
Can I say something about that really quick before you?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I like Ryan Airy's idea. All of these characters should be replaceable. I mean, the actors after a certain amount of time, because then we could hear stories from just continuous. You know what I mean? We can't. Right now, we're stopping with the Captain America stories that we told already. Because we don't have the same actor. If we get a different actor, make like a James Bond type of thing, then they can go on forever. You know what I'm saying? Anyway,
I think that could work to a point. They did it with Iron Man 2 when they found a new actor to play Patriot. Rhodey, yeah. Iron Patriot. They found a new actor to play him. And I think that works a little bit better, at least in a large connected universe like the MCU. I think it works fine for people who aren't front and center all the time. But when it comes to like the face of the hero, it's I think a little bit more difficult to do that as often. I agree with you. I think it would make it easier to keep telling these stories, but I think the MCU would have to be less of an MCU and more of a disconnected kind of thing, like where we can have a new Batman every like 3 years just because which we have. Because the Batman movies so far, for the most part, have been in their own individual universe, so we can have multiple actors play them. Up until they put Spider-Man into the MCU, the Spider-Man movies have been in their own universe, so we've been able to have Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire and other actors play these characters, and that's fine. But I think in order for that to work, the MCU would have to become more disconnected, and you would have to have a few more standalone movies where these characters didn't interact in these big, like Avenger sort of things. That's my opinion, but I could be wrong.
See, I
just
look
think
at
like
it
for
too.
a character to be recognizable,
I look at it too. We're getting Sam Wilson as Captain America, so we're going to still get Captain America. And this isn't like comics where you get a new comic every month. I mean, you're only getting a film every possible 3 years or so, unless they're kind of part 1 and part 2 where they come a little quicker. So they can tell the story of Steve Rogers as Captain America. Then they can move on to Sam Wilson if they want Bucky Barnes to be in a little bit. You can stretch these stories out a lot farther in the movie MC, in the movie sort of storytelling. So you don't necessarily have to do that. But I'm with Dave. I honestly would be perfectly fine if they recast people like they do in James Bond. Like you get a new James Bond every so many years. As long as they did a good job of getting the next person. I know a lot of people don't want, Robert Downey Jr. replaced as Iron Man, but if they did, I'd be fine with it. As long as they got somebody good who did the role well, wouldn't bother me.
Let me ask you this. Whenever they want to sort of retell a story in the comics, they want to start fresh and they want to do the hero's origin story again, maybe change some things up, add on, add some new story points, maybe bring on new artists, bring it up to the current decade instead of Spider-Man going to college in the 60s, bring it up to the 90s or whatever. What do?
Well, they just retcon the origin.
There you go. They retcon the origin. Sometimes they'll have like some big event that will undo the entire universe, and so everything has to start
Crisis
fresh.
on Infinite Earths type thing. Yeah.
Crisis on Infinite Earths, Flashpoint in the DC universe, all sorts of different things. So we don't know for a fact, but I mean that could end up happening with the MCU. It could get to a point where they feel like, we've gone as far as we can take this current universe. We may have to, Thanos snap. I can't think of anything else that, I'm sure they'll come up with something.
What about Secret Wars?
We'll have to Secret Wars this. We'll have to do something to reset the entire universe. And then,
we find out most of our heroes have been Skrulls.
Coming in theaters, 2045, Iron Man 1.
Right.
So
but
yeah,
I
I
think
it's only a matter of time before they end up redoing it all.
I think they could do some of that with Secret Wars. Depending on how they want to do and what characters we want to see, we may see some new characters. And they could do Secret Wars too. Dave makes a good point. We find out that, they're not going to do any major character, but if we find out Luke Cage was a Skrull, and Mike Coulter. Oh, better yet, Danny Rand was a Skrull.
There you go.
That'd be great. That would be great.
We get a new actor as Danny Rand, and we don't have to worry ever about, what that Skrull did on Netflix. And God, now I want to see Danny Rand as a Skrull so bad. Almost like that fourth sister. Get what she's got
to come back for one episode.
Yeah, he can come back as a Skrull. I like that.
Mine would be they're a very simple one. Baron Zemo. Just because I like Daniel Bruhl, he did such a good job. It made you. He had the ability to make you feel like, all right, I can get behind what you're saying. You know what I mean? Oh, and his dance was incredible.
Hey, what are you guys doing?
If he could only
we're doing
dance,
the Baron Zemo dance.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
If he could dance on every episode or just throughout the entire movie, that'd be incredible.
What are you doing? Distraction, bro.
I really do hope Daniel, Bruhl Zemo is in there, and I really hope that because kind of people know who he is, he does kind of go undercover as Citizen V to be a hero, to kind of hide it. And I don't know. I'm assuming, which is not a safe thing to do, that Val will somehow be a part of forming the Thunderbolts.
Oh, I think she is.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think this is going to be kind of a thing where we talked about it way back when we talked Theory Palooza on Phase 4 about the Thunderbolts. I think they're going to come and they're going to be government controlled. A lot of villains on that team, and there's no Avengers around right now because they're off in different areas and a bunch of things going on. And eventually these two teams are going to face off. And the Avengers are going to expose them for the villains they are. A lot like it happened in the comics, and I look forward to that. The rumor is that, Marvel Studios is looking at this as a trilogy, and that final, part 3 could coincide with a new Avengers movie, where it's like a part 1 and part 2, Thunderbolts
versus the Avengers. The Young Avengers or whatever, New Avengers.
The all new, all different Avengers.
Yeah.
It definitely seems to be the way they're going is the younger generation.
Yeah.
Which is fine. That's what they should do. They should make a legion of kids, watch them, and then they'll love them for the next 40 years. That's a good marketing move. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's kind of like, that was basically Peter Parker's story, if you're to believe that that was intentional for him to be the kid that, held up his Iron Man hand at Starkfest or whatever in Iron Man 2. Just he's a fan of the heroes. Miss Marvel, huge fan of the heroes. So yeah, I think that would make sense in this world that they see these superheroes. We talked about the discussion that they had in WandaVision, how these people seem to have like very intimate knowledge of what goes on the battlefield and like who's stronger than who, and clearly these are discussions that probably happen among regular people in the MCU all the time. So I'm sure there's these fans that are like, man, I wish I could be a hero like that.
Well, I mean, and Kamala Khan in the beginning of Miss Marvel played out the entire battle of Avengers Endgame in her little animation. So yeah, there's definitely intimate knowledge of everything that happened during that time. How they got that, I have no idea, but it's out there.
Can you imagine? This is the CNN correspondent. I am here, and it looks like Thanos is alive. Once again, we're not sure how. Something with time travel? Who knows?
And somehow Thanos is alive again.
So kiss your loved ones goodbye. We are probably all going to get stamped away. And who's that? Who's that blonde girl? You know what? I think we have news footage of her from the 90s.
With her haircut. That's Captain Marvel.
She does get a cut every week.
I mean, I have to. Was that a Scott Pilgrim reference?
No, because he went 424 days without getting a cut, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
There are some Scott. I gotta switch the topic because then I'll dive into full mode.
Are we going to the boys next?
I thought you wanted to do Miss Marvel next. It's fine. Whatever.
We can do whatever you want. I'll tell you what. Let me cue up Miss Marvel. Boom. We are on to Miss Marvel. Which I know, Dave, you were not very excited about this show. So I wanted to know what you thought of the first episode.
I gotta tell you, I watched it the first time. I was like, I watched it again. And I was like, all right, this is a good show. It's definitely made, like I said a minute ago, for the younger generation. It's made for them.
But was it made for 12-year-olds like you initially thought?
Yes. Yeah, it's still in that range.
Really?
Still
I don't think so, but all right.
Yeah, I do. I think so. But that doesn't mean that it was a bad show, because I did enjoy it. I got a bunch of notes here, but I'll wait for you guys to weigh in on it. But overall, I thought it was better than I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
So it's above average. I wouldn't say it's one of the best stuff they put out, but I can't wait to see next week.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed it too. I really think, we, for those of you that are on our YouTube channel, we are giving away Miss Marvel No Normal on that. So check that out, comment, and do all the things you need to do to get that done. But I thought they really captured the feel of G. Gordon Wilson's run on Miss Marvel. She's like a fangirl. She's, the thing I liked about it is being a old man, as Reva likes to call Obi-Wan, a white male in her 50s. I didn't know much. I still don't know much about Muslim culture and teenage girls and things of that nature, even though I have one living in my house that scowls at me every once in a while. But it was nice reading about her struggles in a Muslim family, because I had no idea what happens. And, her very devout brother and her parents and how they are and what she wants to do and how she wants to be. And
they have these expectations for her that she doesn't necessarily, she's like fighting with, like, do I do what my family wants or do I do what I want? Like, am I obligated to do what they want?
And I thought they absolutely nailed that so far in the first episode and especially Aman, I'm going to screw up her name, so I'm not going to say it, but the actress who plays Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, is freaking perfect. She does such a great job in a show of, self-doubt and she just bounces around from feeling to feeling like a teenage girl does, and also, plays it to a T. I was very happy with how this turned out. I wasn't worried about it not being good, but I was worried that they might not capture that same feel, but they did. And we talked about it on a couple streams ago about the change in her powers. Didn't bother me at all. I was absolutely fine with how they did it. Now, I know Dave probably has some notes on this because we did talk about this after the show. If it's just that bracelet that gives her that powers, it's not going to be my favorite. I really hope this is something that is explained in future episodes.
Like an Inhuman thing.
It's like Terrigen Mist is somehow involved in that. You know, a lot of people thought they were getting away from the Terrigen Mist because of how terrible the Inhumans was. That was on ABC.
That was my assumption too.
And I thought, okay, that makes sense. But then Kevin Feige brought back Anson Mount for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So I'm like, okay, maybe he's okay with that. And I wonder if it's either going to be an Inhuman that's awakened in her through some possible Terrigen Mist in the bracelet, or an X gene. So she might be a mutant in the MCU where she's an Inhuman in the comics.
May I?
I think that's... Oh, yeah, go ahead.
My thought is, and this goes back to something that I say quite a bit about the MCU. I know that they tend to change up character stories or backgrounds and everything whenever they feel it's necessary, whenever they have to, in order to make it work for things like these movies and TV shows where maybe they thought, for instance, the powers. My assumption is they probably did that because they're like, you know what, we've already had 2 Fantastic Four movies that did terrible. Stretchy powers are really hard to simulate in live action. Look, this is like the best that we can do. We'll make it like a Green Lantern like powers, and we'll do that better with CG or something. My assumption with this change in how she acquired her powers, I think this is going to have something to do with maybe more of a magical element that they're trying to dig a little bit deeper into with the MCU. So like I remember when we were talking about our Phase 4 predictions and everything, one of our main focuses were like on, okay, we're probably going to get the Young Avengers. We're probably going to have a huge galactic threat. We never really discussed, we didn't take a whole lot of time to discuss the magical elements, and put together the pieces of, well, what is Doctor Strange's world going to look like? What about Wanda? What about all of these characters that, they're now putting forth as this is less mutant, really more magic, or maybe there's some sort of, cross between the two. And now we've got Shang-Chi with the magic bracelets, rings, I guess. I'm wondering if this is the same kind of thing. Is this somewhere in between Shang-Chi's bracelets? Because when she put it on, she put the device on, and she kind of like fell backwards in her own mind into that weird sort of like dream realm or whatever. Like my first thought was, wow, that's a lot like Doctor Strange.
See, I thought it was like the Infinity Stone, or one of the Infinity Stones.
Oh, sort of like the
Power Stone.
Okay.
Like, because we know the Soul Stone, Thanos and Gamora and stuff were there. I thought it was almost like a Power Stone type thing where she like went back and was like imbued with this power almost. But I don't think it's going to be Infinity Stones.
I don't think so either, and I'm not going to bring it up because I'll get yelled at by the internet. So I'm not supposed to talk about Infinity Stones. It's over. It's over. There's no more Infinity Stones. I was wrong about everything. You got your boner joke. Be happy.
Well, we know there's still Infinity Stones from the multiverse because we've seen them at the TVA.
That's true. They were in a drawer.
That's right, and they did nothing. They're useless.
They did nothing at the TVA. If you got them out of the TVA, you might be able to do something.
So but you brought up this image. Tell us what's the deal here.
What? I can't see it. I gotta pull it out.
Oh, I was just sorry, my my throat is less than optimal today. My dang allergies.
Absolutely,
but
it is.
Thank you.
For those who don't know, if we say absolutely, you got to take a drink.
But this was, Dave was kind of sending over some screenshots that he had taken, and he wondered if this was a reference to the 10 rings. And I definitely think it could be because, you make a good point. The 10 ring, obviously grants the Mandarin and now Shang-Chi with a bunch of additional powers. So that could be the bracelet she puts on could be of the same sort of magic ilk per se.
It's like when
that was my question. My next question was, she got it from her grandma. It was her grandma's thing, right?
Right.
Now, and her mom kept saying throughout the show, you know, you're just like my mom. My mom used to be a daydreamer too. So did her mom, did her grandmother have this power? Is it only because she's of the same blood that she can put it on and it'll affect her too? Or can anybody put that thing on?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I do think we're going to find out. I hope that it's because of something special about Kamala Khan. I don't want her to just be someone that
Because
puts
then if
something
she
on.
loses the bracelet, she loses all her powers. Yeah.
Then yeah, the power is really in the bracelet, not in the person.
Yeah, exactly.
Correct.
Yeah, no, I agree with that thought. And I hope that isn't the case. And I do hope that maybe this is whether they go with an Inhuman storyline at all. Again, I don't know if they're going to even broach that topic anymore. Or, again, going back to one of our discussions that we had before, are they going to use this to introduce some sort of latent mutant abilities into the MCU? Will this be the opportunity where they finally do it? We know it. We know at some point they're going to bring mutants in. We've already seen Professor X in a multiverse version of Earth.
We also saw
wasn't
Black Bolt,
Earth,
though.
huh?
We also saw Black Bolt, though.
Again, in a multiverse version of Earth, yeah, absolutely. We haven't seen them on on the MCU Earth yet, but this could be them testing the waters, and maybe it'll come out with, the bracelet activated a latent mutant gene. I don't know.
See, I still think it's going to be an Inhuman. I think after seeing,
They
because
could. They might. Again,
After
I think
seeing-
it's going to depend on if they want to touch that subject again.
after seeing Black Bolt and that, I'm like, okay, they're open to this. I know Kevin Feige had originally wanted the Inhumans to be a movie, and somehow, the power struggle between Marvel Studios and Marvel Television got the show, and I think that kind of upset Kevin Feige a bit. So I think he'll be happy to introduce it. And, part of our giveaway
But on his own terms?
Yes, part of our giveaway for Miss Marvel is talk about a cameo you think is going to happen in this show that is not Carol Danvers, because I think it's almost guaranteed
I know who
Larson
it
is
is.
showing up. I really hope it's Lockjaw. For those of you that don't know who Lockjaw is, he is an Inhuman dog, I think. I don't know what else to call him. He's like a giant Saint Bernard that teleports. And he has been in the Miss Marvel
Okay.
comics quite a bit, where he helps Miss Marvel, get around to places because he can teleport. He takes her to the Inhumans because they do find out that she was basically, turned into this, got this power through a Terrigen Mist, which makes her an Inhuman and brings her back. I really hope, out of all of the cameos they could possibly do, we see Lockjaw, which will help reintroduce the Inhumans in some way. I don't think they're going to get a movie anytime soon, but we could see them pop up, in certain Inhumans pop up in different places, and then down the line they could introduce the royal family. I think that would be a nice way to handle it. Distance themselves as much as they can from that show and bring it into the MCU.
Yeah, might be a way to do it. Like, there's so many things that they need to distance themselves from, like the Fantastic Four, both versions.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, they've got to find a way to bring these famous characters or ideas or stories into the MCU, maybe in a better way. And yeah,
The best
it could
version
be.
so far has been Spaghetti Man.
Oh Lord, I gotta say, like the horror elements they put in that movie in Doctor Strange, that was awesome. I absolutely loved it. I loved Wanda coming out of a puddle. I loved all of the kills.
And it's coming out in 11 days on Disney Plus. So
Oh,
we will
beautiful.
be able to
I
watch
will
it
be
again.
watching it again.
It's already made $1 billion.
That is a movie that for sure I will watch again as soon as it comes on streaming. I have not watched The Batman yet. Again,
You're a weirdo.
it's just so long. I don't know. I can't find the time to dedicate to watching that movie again. I enjoyed it the first time, but I don't know. I got to set aside the time to check it out. I have not watched oh my God, Justice League, the better, darker, longer cut.
Oh my God, I'm never going to.
I haven't watched that again. I have not watched Wonder Woman 84 again.
I'd rather take a spiked baseball bat to the nuts than watch that again.
I don't know if I go that far, but maybe.
Yeah, find me Lucille. Somebody get me Lucille.
I haven't watched Let There Be Carnage yet.
Have you watched No Way Home again yet?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Did you guys
As
see
soon as
that
was
they are
available.
coming out? It's coming back into theaters, I think August or September, with deleted scenes.
Really?
So I think we may have to do an at the theater review to make sure that it
Or
still, stands.
No Way Home with deleted scenes?
Yeah, I forget what they call it. It's called Spider-Man No Way Home. Or
Extended edition or
something.
something?
There was something. It was called something else. Now I can't remember it. Darn it! It just came.
That's not cool. Just put the whole thing out. Don't do this. Don't wait and then, that's a money grab. Don't do that.
It's definitely, it's totally a money grab. They did that,
Sony's got to make up for Morbius. That $85,000 it made on its re-release.
Yeah. They lost money on that deal, man.
They did that a couple of years ago. I want to say 2018 or 2019. What movie did they re-release again, but with was it Endgame? It might have been Endgame that they re-released. I remember they did.
It was a scene, yeah. That wasn't it was a scene that they didn't even fully CGI yet. That was a weird decision.
They brought it back in theaters with that, like, oh my gosh, you've got to see it only in theaters, and it made a fuck ton more money again. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Dave. It is a cash grab for sure, and I will go see it.
We'll be there.
I just want to see it because I want to see it on the big screen again. Hopefully the deleted scenes don't distract. That movie was just such a fun time at the theater. It was great.
All right, don't judge me for this, but several years ago they released like 2 episodes of Game of Thrones on the big screen, and it was and I went to the theaters and I saw it with a couple of friends because we were big into Game of Thrones at the time. It was the battle at the Wall. And so it was like this huge fight scene, this huge war and everything. And I got to tell you, Game of Thrones looks amazing on the big screen. It looked really good. It was. I'm
not going to judge you because I would have done the same thing.
The entire series is still ruined for me, but I'm glad that I saw it back when it was still a good series.
Well, getting back to Miss Marvel.
Sorry about that. A good segue. Almost as good.
See how we run off on tangents? It's incredible.
We do that.
I think her mom's superpower is to pack up boxes full of food in less than 10
so
seconds.
Quick. He's the Flash.
She's got to have something. There's got to be something we're not seeing there. She's amazing. How does she do that? She just knew that she had to do it ahead of time.
It's a mom power.
Right. 10 seconds later, here you go. Holy.
Or that's going to be the end credit scene. They're going to show a bunch of floating Tupperware containers, and then it's just going to cut to black.
It's going to be Agatha Harkness helping her.
Oh, God. It's been Agatha all along.
I do think it's just because she knows Bruno is, his home life isn't quite.
We don't talk about Bruno.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, I've already covered all my points for crying out loud.
There's a few things.
I guess I didn't have that much to say.
I have some points, too, and I'm sure you do, too.
Go ahead, Douglas.
So I wanted to bring up, and I believe Dave sent you a couple of pictures. And so these are some things that I wanted to bring up. I was talking about this back when we watched the trailer, and we were reviewing the trailer. And my initial thought at watching the little images of her, how she kind of daydreams and she sees the world, and she sees an animated picture that she drew of her teacher, and she sees all these things like in just the way that she imagines the world around her. Yes, right here. So these scenes that Keith is showing right now. I loved these little additions to this show. And my initial thought when we first saw stuff like this in the trailer, I'm like, this is giving me some major Scott Pilgrim vibes. I love whenever a director or an editor or whatever, when they sort of have their own unique style to the way that they want scenes to flow, that they have transitions. And, even if the story itself isn't the greatest, even if the characters are there are certain things about a show or a movie that I can appreciate. I've talked about this with some of the horrible Terminator movies, that I appreciate the thought that they put into the backstory and into the design of the robots that they put onto the screen more so than the greater story. The fact that they took all of these text messages that Kamala Khan had with her and Bruno, and they sort of illustrated it in the world around her on neon signs, on the street, in the sky around. Oh my God, that was such an amazing directorial choice. I love that they did that. And seriously, like I said, serious Scott Pilgrim vibes. Even though I've heard a lot of people, they don't care for the movie or the story, the editing choices and the directorial choices that they made with the transitions and the stuff that they put in the screen, it's worth it. You got to see it for that alone. And I loved that attention to detail in this episode, and it was really cool.
Yeah, I like the fact that instead of showing a phone with it going back and forth,
Yeah.
it was highlighting in the areas around them, and it just made it for a much more enjoyable, and it was a good decision, and it worked, and I was very happy for that.
Yeah. And I also think that it helped sort of show who she is as a character. It helped, they had a lot to get through. For normally, what would have been a movie to introduce the backstory to a character, who they are and how they got their powers and everything like that. This all had to be done in a TV series episode. So for them to use these little flourishes to help explain and help us understand who this character is, and also what you were talking about, Keith, where they're showing how she struggles day to day and tries to decide how she wants to live her own life, whether she should live it, based on what her family wants or what she wants. I think that was a nice way to help us understand that character.
And then the other thing coming up on the screen here in 1 second, Dave sent over a picture where we saw in the credits, we see Trust a Bro moving van in the end credits scene. And we also know, and I forgot to grab the picture, but in the credits, there was a makeup assistant to Haley Stanfield. So I do think she is going to appear in the show at some point. I don't think the Tracksuit Mafia is going to be there, but I think this was our first clue that we are going to see Kate Bishop show up in the Miss Marvel show. I don't know if
do
it's
we
still...
know, does this show, does Miss Marvel, does it take place before Hawkeye or after?
I don't think we know that yet. They haven't really
Okay.
talked about the timeline for this show. So obviously we know it could be simultaneous. We do know it's post Endgame, but that's about all we've heard officially.
Well, right out the gate, one thing that I do appreciate about this series that I saw was really lacking in Moon Knight, and I was kind of disappointed about this aspect of Moon Knight throughout the entire series. Moon Knight felt very disconnected from the MCU. This is bringing us back into the larger universe. I loved it right in the beginning. We're reminded that all of this stuff happened in Endgame and Infinity War and all that stuff, that Kamala Khan is a huge nerd, a huge fan, is a YouTuber like your fellow nerds. I thought that was amazing. She only has a couple of subscribers.
Yes, she only has
2 weeks, 5 views.
2 subscribers, but I love that the fact that her channel was Sloth Baby Productions.
Which is the username that she uses in the comics, yeah.
Yep, I love that. And then
He sleeps with a big giant sloth.
Yeah.
I was laughing because she had a interview with Scott Lang. It was Big Me, Little Me, a Scott Lang interview, which I thought was funny. And then she was talking at one point where she says she thinks Thor is secretly a gamer.
Which we know that he is.
Yeah,
I love that little nod to him, in New Asgard with Noob 69 .
Okay. How funny is it that all these people have very detailed knowledge of all these fights and battles that have happened, but they're still on the fence on whether Thor has been playing video games or not?
Well, the only way you would know is that he got on when poor Korg was being tortured verbally by that player. He got on and he threatened a kid. He said, "I'm Thor."
Noob Master 69.
Master 69.
Which I do hope we find out is Deadpool.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
That would be great. Thor yelled at me.
Wait, is that your buddy Korg? Oh, he's such a blank, blank, blank. I crushed him in Fortnite. I thought, was there one more thing I had about this movie?
I just read a Deadpool graphic novel that had on the cover Thor standing there holding his belly laughing while Deadpool's trying to pick up Mjolnir. Can't wait to see something like that.
I feel like in some of the weirder Deadpool comics, he would have somehow gotten away with it. There were so many of those books where, like, he just did things that you read it and you're like, that can't be canon.
Well, a lot of it, he's not a very good narrator.
Reliable narrator, yeah.
Yes. So,
He's
and then I picked up
crazy.
Mjolnir and
right. Sure you did, buddy.
Yeah.
I think that are we ready to move on to what I think is all of our favorite show from the week,
Oh, yeah.
The Boys, which Dave watched. I was so upset because the first 3 episodes dropped last Thursday night at like 8 p.m. Thursday night at 8 p.m. Well, it was like 8:30. Put my son to bed.
Yeah, Dave keeps beating us at watching it.
And I turned on Amazon Prime. I'm like, oh, please be available. Please be available because I want to be the first one to watch it. Nope. It had to wait till the morning. And then Dave's on Slack. Did you guys watch it? I'm like,
Right.
how's it work?
What was my text? Was it yesterday? What was my text yesterday after I watched it? First to you guys.
You said that like at 7 in the morning or something.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, holy Kamiko.
Holy Kamiko.
Yeah.
This was an episode for her. And you know what? I hope she's okay. I really do. She's not?
I think this show is never going to, I mean, what she has went through and what she's doing now for the ends justify the means, just like Huey's doing it. You know, Huey wanted to do it what he considered the right way, and he found out you can't. This is going to negatively impact everyone on the show, and they do not pull punches with it. The one scene, I mean, everything was great about this episode. They do such a great job with almost everything on it. But the scene that really hit me the most is when MM and them learned that Huey took that V-24 and how disappointed they were in him. Like when they found out Butcher did it, they were like,
okay,
you're a dumbass, but Huey, they were just like,
Huey.
Just slowly shook their head like how such disappointment.
Kimiko she looked the most disappointed out of all of them. Even Huey was like, really?
That hit the hardest of everything that happened in this episode. I was like, damn. And they're right. Huey messed up.
Yeah.
And
we talked about this in our last live stream, that one of the things that they did well in translating this series from the comic books is they made it very clear that this version of the boys do not rely on superpowers. They're very much against the use of superpowers. They feel that nobody should have them. And it makes them more likable as characters when they're fighting as people against these superpowered individuals.
Well, you know what is so sad about it is that Kamiko and Frenchie keep talking about we're going to get out. And Frenchie keeps saying, all right, one more mission. One more mission, and then we're out.
God.
And then, yeah, you had to know. That's why I hope she's okay, because she's probably not. She's probably done for. And I don't like that. I like her as a character, you know. But I could see it happening on this show because that's what this show does.
Well, she's got a thriving YouTube channel, so.
I also, I mean, they do things so well. They have been setting up Homelander to be getting very irrational and a little bit crazy. And that twist when he turned it on Edgar was, I did not see that coming. I was like, that is fantastic. I was like, yes. And Edgar, God, first off, Giancarlo Esposito, we've talked about it many times. What an incredible actor he is. That scene where he's talking with Homelander after this all went down, he's having his little, scotch or whatever it is, and he's like,
yep.
I don't think you realize what you've done, but good luck or whatever. And he walks out, and I was just like, that's going to weigh on Homelander because Homelander can't control himself. And
he's a thinker. He'll think that into himself. Like next show, he'll be going, why did he say that? You know what I mean?
And
I personally think, if after you finish your thought, go ahead.
I was just going to say, he thinks he's on cloud 9 right now because popular opinion is coming his
thinks
way
he's
because he
won.
opened it up. But that turned so quickly, and I think that's going to be the first thing he learns next week as he's still behaving this way. It's one thing to have a breakdown and be like, I can't believe you guys are persecuting me, and have that very public breakdown. But to continue to act that way, people are going to be like, okay, he's just a horrible freaking person, and public opinion is going to sway away from him quick.
Will it though?
I think it will.
The non-Trumpers on the show.
I was
Yes.
about to say, like, there's going to be a guy that's going to, there's going to be a little up and coming YouTube channel, and they're going to have to share a space with a guy that's selling knockoff Homelander gear, and he's going to have a giant Homelander float, and
By the way, I passed our guy on the highway the other day.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I didn't honk or nothing. I was just like, really? All right.
I'm just hoping one day when we go to the warehouse and he's selling not your status quo stuff instead of Trump stuff. That's when we know we've made it, boys. We're gonna be.
That's right.
That's when we know that we're about to be indicted and called forth to the January 6th hearings.
If we would have made Trump, what was their channel gonna be?
It was going to be, was it Trumpapalooza?
Trumpageddon or
It was something Palooza, I thought.
Our channel?
yeah,
We were going to make another channel.
Yeah,
here.
Trumpalooza. Trumpalooza, yeah.
Yeah.
We still can. There's still time.
It's
Not
He's not in
that-
jail yet.
I think that time's fading though.
I don't know if you guys saw the hearings the other day, but wow. Anyway,
I
we're
did
not
not.
a political
I
channel, so I'll,
saw a bit of a
I'll go ahead
recap
and get
of
off
it,
that
but-
topic right now.
Ugh.
I think Stan Edgar is a brilliant tactician. I think he's got something set up. He even mentioned it when he was talking to Homelander in that scene you mentioned, Keith. He was like, he goes, "Are you disappointed in her?" He says, "No, because I've always taught her to look at all angles." And then he smiled. And then he still told Homelander, "You're just a bad product." And then earlier in the show, I don't know if it was earlier in the show or the season, I think it's the last episode, he was telling the senator that he didn't want to be in the superhero game anymore. He wanted, in 5 years, he wanted to be out of the superhero game. So I think he's got something brewing. I think he's got an idea of what's going on. Maybe he even had his daughter say that speech to make Homelander think he was on her side.
Well, if they've been able to develop a version of Compound V that can last for only 24 hours, who's to say that they haven't also worked with some other formulas that can take away powers for 24 hours or longer? I mean, I figured if they truly do have like a fully fledged science team, which we saw in season 1, that's how Homelander came to be. It was basically created in a lab with a whole bunch of scientists and so many nannies that he slaughtered. But
So much milk.
so much milk. Oh God, so disgusting. But I feel
Absolutely.
like at some point they would have had to come up with. I feel like at some point they would have had to come up with some sort of, chemical or compound that can either limit or take away powers. There may not be a gun or a weapon, so to speak, based on the search that went on in Russia. I don't think that there ever was a weapon like that.
You don't think that hamster was the weapon?
No, I don't think so.
The hamster was fast, man.
I think the Russians were being like our old buddy Palpatine, and they put Soldier Boy on ice so they could get some of his midi-chlorians out and make
See,
their
I
own-
didn't. I saw
They
that
added
as a Winter Soldier type scene.
Yeah, me too.
He
Well, I did
is
too, but
brainwashed.
for like a totally different reason.
Wolverine type scene, even maybe. No, they got
I'm
it.
sorry, you said Winter
Wolverine.
Soldier, where they're trying to brainwash him.
Like they captured this American
Yeah.
guy, and they're going to
Oh,
brainwash him.
I didn't think of that. I was looking at the
You know how they
parallels
have
of Captain
Wolverine locked
America.
up too. And what was that? Days of Future Past. That's how he came out too. It's like it's the same thing. They were in there changing him. He was stuck in there.
Yeah.
And I
I-
think he is the weapon to kill Homelander.
Now that blast that he shot, Do you think that was one of his original power sets or something they gave to him?
I think it's an additional power set.
And
He didn't
that's
seem
why
to know.
if he can kill her, then he can kill Homelander. All right, here we go again with the cat.
Okay, all right. Now I'm thinking, what if that's the weapon? What if it's like, it's not the weapon they're looking for? What if it's the weapon that they find? What if it turns out this blast that he's able to shoot disrupts Soup powers, and that's why Kimiko's not healing?
That's exactly what I thought when they were like, when Frenchie said, "Why is she not healing?" I'm like, oh, it's taking away her superpowers.
Yeah, damn.
And so they're going to need all of the people.
They're going to need
to distract Homelander
somehow.
while Soldier Boy hits him up.
And then what are they going to do about Soldier Boy?
Yeah, exactly.
After that,
it's
man.
We solved one problem. Unfortunately, we have another problem over here.
Yeah.
And how about let's talk about A-Train selling out Supersonic.
I called it. I called it. I told you guys. I knew there was no way he was a hero.
I don't think he did. I think that Homelander hurt him, with his amazing hearing, and he's blaming it on A-Train. Because A-Train doesn't like Homelander. He doesn't even try and care about getting it back in good with him. He's either, all or nothing. He's not going to fake it.
I think he looks out for himself, and I think he figured, look, Homelander is basically a god. He's superpowered. He's invincible. Cue the invincible title card. He's invincible. It's either I get on his good side so he doesn't kill me, or I get caught up in this whole scheme and he kills me and Starlight and Huey and everybody else.
And I think he did it also to get at Blue Hawk, to get Homelander on his side. I need your help with Blue Hawk. Here's some information, because he wants to do something for his people and stuff, and he figures, okay, you know what? These people aren't going to help me with that, so I don't give a shit about them. But I will tell Homelander this in the hopes that he stops listening to the Deep's wife and will help me, with this issue that I had, because he wants to look like he's helping his community. Because once again, A-Train has been in the Seven long enough. He doesn't care about people. He cares about his image. And if he can look like the hero, for that neighborhood and for, his people, that's what he wants. And that's all he cares about.
At least his neighborhood and his family would see him as a hero.
Yep.
Even if he can't even if he can't use his powers anymore.
Hey, shitbirds.
I got a question about that. So in all of the commercials that he's been in, have they been editing those powers in post, or has he been using them in short bursts?
I think they've been editing them.
Yeah, that would make sense, because I think the next time he uses superpowers is going to be in the final battle where he's
That's what I was thinking too.
I just thought that commercial was such shade at that Kylie Jenner Pepsi commercial.
Pepsi one.
I was like, oh my God, this is great. The boys do not give a fuck. And I'm sorry for swearing. Pardon my French about anything.
We're talking about The Boys. Anybody who's watching a recap on The Boys, I think they would know to expect it.
Yeah, they swear.
But I was great. And I mean, it's a well-written show when they basically ruined the fact that Soldier Boy was going to be in that container. But it was still a tremendous scene. Like, first you see the hamster, and then they bring him out, and the thing shoots out. Even though I knew it was going to happen, I still was completely enthralled. And I'm like, that's really how a good show pulls you in and keeps you in. They can give you things that are going to happen, and it doesn't ruin it at all.
It's definitely the best super-powered show on TV today. Definitely better than everything Disney's got going. This show is just so raw and so good. Such good storytelling that it's definitely the best out there right now.
And the fact that Victoria Newman was giving her daughter Compound V to kind of help protect her. I mean, that's one of those moves where, the mother is doing what she thinks is best for the child, but it's not going to turn out so well. It never does.
She just messed her up for the rest of her life. Poor girl. That's what Edgar meant about always keeping her safe.
Yeah.
Go back to my theory where Edgar's got an angle. Maybe that's what he meant.
Well, she had to get it from someone.
Oh, Stan Edgar is the Loki of the boys. He always has plans upon plans upon plans. He has a plan. If it starts to shoot this way, he's already said, well, if it shoots out this way, I'm going to do this. So he knows what he's going to do, and he is going to come out smelling like a rose, and Homelander is going to be, the poster boy for hatred in America, because Edgar knows how to play people. Like he said early in the show to, Starlight.
Yep. And
real power isn't this.
In 4 years, Homelander will be replaced. We just have to deal with it.
Yeah, that's the big question this season. Is Homelander going to kill Soldier Boy, or is Soldier Boy going to kill Homelander? I don't see Homelander getting killed.
I think he will eventually. I don't know if it's going to happen this season, but...
Oh, they did get approved for season 4, right, Keith?
They did. It has been renewed for season 4. And I'm kind of with you, Dave. I don't think Homelander's going to die this season. I think he may be hurt. Maybe removed from the 7.
Hurt, for sure.
Something along those lines. But Anthony Starr does too great of a job as Homelander to get rid of him this soon. Mm-hmm. We need him around for a bit longer. He's too good of a protagonist to get rid of him. Yeah. And especially, he's not just the, like, I was saying earlier, he's not just the homicidal madman that's losing his grip on reality. He's smart enough to make some decisions to put him where he thinks he is on top.
Maybe in the next season, he's going to be recovering from his injuries, and he's going to be like walking with a cane and whatever, and he's going to be holding press conferences where he's talking about how he was unfairly kicked out of the 7, and it was the mainstream media, because you notice he did that. He pulled the whole mainstream media and fake news bull crap on bought news. He's going to be going on there talking about, like, I should have never been kicked out of the 7. This was terrible. This was an injustice.
I was punished for being the whistleblower. I brought forth evidence on how, Stan Edgar was just abusing his power. And I was the one they turned it around on me. I'm the real victim here.
So we're going to storm Vought Towers.
Hang Stan Edgar. Hang Stan Edgar.
But now I wonder, going back to this blast that Soldier Boy has that we're assuming disrupts superpowers, do you think with somebody like Homelander, where he's got bulletproof skin, where he's got laser eyes, where he's got longer lifespan, where he's got like just powers upon powers upon powers, would a blast from Soldier Boy eliminate all of his abilities, or do you think it would just like weaken him to a certain point, like maybe he can still fly but he can't shoot laser eyes, or his skin can now be shot with bullets but he can't run fast, or whatever?
I think it would make more sense to just weaken him. Like, it's almost the fact, I've been thinking too a lot about the fact that they have, Butcher almost has the same power set, it seems like, as Homelander with his compound, his temporary compound V. And you got to think, someone like Homelander, who's always had so much power, he's never had to really learn, where Butcher is a trained fighter. I mean, if they were on the same power level, Butcher would take him down, because he hasn't had powers his whole life. He's been trained in hand-to-hand combat and other things, where Homelander is just relied on his powers. So if it comes down to Homelander versus him and they're almost at the same power set, Butcher would wipe the floor with him.
I just had a theory. Okay. So you know how in the comics, Black Noir is supposed to be Sorry, spoilers. Real quick. In the comics, Black Noir is supposed to be a clone of Homelander, and he has the same exact power set. When he takes his mask off, he looks identical to Homelander, and he's meant to destroy and or replace Homelander in the event that Homelander ever turns and becomes evil, because he's got the same power set as him. So they made him as a failsafe.
But unfortunately, we've seen Black Noir.
Right, and that does not seem to be the case here. It appears that Black Noir has been around for a lot longer than Homelander, because I believe Homelander wasn't test tube created until probably the 70s or 80s or something, and Black Noir was fighting in Vietnam, I think.
That is true.
Yeah, so my guess would be that, or my theory, rather, what if Butcher is a clone of Homelander, or vice versa? Why? What if that's why they have the same power set? What if there's some sort of similarity between their DNA? What if Homelander's DNA came from like Butcher's mom or something?
And they changed it so he had blonde hair and blue eyes to kind of fit more like.
Fiddled with something, yeah, because his son has blonde hair and blue eyes.
Yeah.
That's Homelander's son. Duh. Well, I don't know.
No, I like that theory. That could be something.
You know,
I would
and
think
so
Wakanda's
it
thing.
just takes a little bit of Compound V or a variant of it to turn on Butcher's powers. Maybe that's why, because their DNA is similar. Maybe that's why they have similar power set.
And that's why Huey had a different power set.
Could be.
That's what I was gonna say. It's no matter if you take
With
the Compound V, it's different for everyone. So he didn't know he was gonna get the laser eyes.
No, he did not.
Right. Is that what else does he have?
Well,
Super
he had
strength.
he had super strength. He had they haven't shown him fly, I don't think, but I'm guessing he probably could.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. All I've seen is his super strength in his eyes.
Super strength and invulnerability, and then the laser eyes.
Yeah, his invulnerability. I guess every superhero has to be invulnerable, right? A-Train.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think A-Train is. I assumed, based on your, I guess it's kind of like going back to what we were talking about with I don't even remember the topic. We were talking about our healing powers in superheroes. We were talking about with our constant barrage of DC questions last week.
Oh yeah.
We were talking about how it got to the point where they just started giving healing abilities to like every hero, to the point where it's like the only thing that was different about Wolverine was the fact that he had claws now.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe that'll be a thing that comes with a lot of the soups in the Boys universe. Is they all have like a similar power, whether it be super strength or something.
And I could see, like, after the 24-hour, after taking it however often you take it, it shortens your lifespan.
Oh, probably. There's got to be some consequences.
Yeah.
You know?
Uh-huh. You look, you get these amazing powers, but it cuts your life in half.
Yeah, because your body can't adjust to having all that power and coming back to normal. The other thought that I had while watching the show, when we saw what Homelander did to poor Supersonic, and he said, "You better stop." You know, to Starlight, basically saying, "You better stop this bullshit of trying to turn on me or whatever." Is he going to confront Maeve? Does he know that she is a part of it too? Because I don't think Starlight ever told Supersonic that she was part of it, because she's training and not drinking and doing all the things because she knows this confrontation coming. Is she going to be the secret weapon that Homelander doesn't expect? Because now you got to know he is watching Starlight like a hawk to make sure she doesn't, make a move against him. But Maeve may be that secret weapon that they...
I don't remember if she brought up Maeve's name or not. I'd have to watch it again.
I will
think
too.
She said there's a couple of us.
That's what I thought too. She didn't give names. So he may think, because she was very specific about saying, "Oh, you think I'm, drinking myself into oblivion and having, threesomes or whatever every night?" People believe what I want them to believe, because she doesn't want anyone to know that she is, prepping for this battle against Homeland.
Yeah.
And hopefully he doesn't see it either. Because Lord knows, we don't.
What they've shown, I would say no.
Unless we see something early in the next episode. We just have to have something to keep Dave busy so I can watch it before him next week.
That'll never happen. He's gonna watch every episode before us.
I actually
Next
have
week
a
it's
very
gonna
busy
be
week.
6 in the morning. Did you guys watch it yet?
I have a very busy week next week, but Friday's my only day I don't have something going on. So I will watch it before you wake.
Yes, again.
I would like to reach out to Amazon Prime directly right now and please release episode 5 at 8 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday night.
And also, while you're at it, please deactivate Dave's account.
Just until Thursday night at like 11. I wonder if they do that.
Oh, no big deal.
I've been a long time Amazon customer. Couldn't they just do this for me?
No,
I pay $100 every year for Prime.
I will text you at 1:01 a.m. on Friday morning and say, "Did you guys see it yet?"
Wait, does it drop at midnight Eastern time, or does it drop at 3 a.m. because it's midnight Pacific time? Because I know Disney Plus is all 3 a.m.
I don't know, man. Why don't you find out?
I may stay up.
will have seen it. Meanwhile, I will have already seen it.
Because I've done that with many Disney Plus shows, gotten up early just to make sure I watch it before there's any spoilers out there, because I hate being on Twitter on a Wednesday afternoon when I haven't watched it. It's like, what's
back when we were all working at the office. Oh Lord, you had to, like, any show that like everybody was watching, and when you work in an office with a whole bunch of nerds that all watch the same stuff, you had to be on your game. You had to watch the stuff, because you walk in 9 in the morning, everybody's already talking. It's like, damn it, spoilers!
Yeah, when I was there, it was the last season of Breaking Bad, and I've never even watched an episode yet.
And so now it's been ruined for you.
And everyone, not now I have, but at the time I hadn't seen it yet, and you guys were all talking about the last episodes. I was like, damn, I guess I gotta watch. I never saw El Camino.
I didn't watch it either. It's there, and friggin' pay for Netflix. I had to watch it.
Yeah,
what about Better Call Saul?
I've seen all of that. Yeah.
I watched a couple of episodes. I couldn't get into it.
It's pretty damn good. It's just as good as Breaking Bad,
huh?
In my opinion.
I'd probably give it another try, maybe eventually. I don't know.
It moves slow to begin with. I mean, you probably got to give it 4 or 5 episodes, but then you see all these characters that were on Breaking Bad slowly creeping their way in, and it's really cool to see their setup story to whatever happened on Breaking Bad. And Mike, he's just a badass.
I will definitely have to give it a try then. We'll see.
We got one more topic, the Black Adam.
We do. I'm just about to.
Well, we've got that, and then also there's one more thing after that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But we'll get to that.
Okay.
Definitely Black Adam.
I'm definitely going to turn the sound down a little bit. I'm definitely going to play this. It's showing for me a little early. Obviously, we get the scene with that ship sort of flying overhead,
What are you talking about?
You'll see it in a minute. But we see the whole, his character being put into that tube, very Weapon X-esh, like we talked about earlier. And then we see Dr. Fate, played by James Bond himself. And, he talks about how his son saved him and all this stuff, and he's coming back powerful. I do like the one scene where the guards all come in, and they got the guns, and he is just standing there kind of in his cape and cowl. And then as they're like fire, he just kind of rises up like he is just ready to dismantle these guys. From what they've shown in this trailer, I think they've gotten the character down pretty good. The whole Hawkman scene where he goes, there's good guys and there's bad guys, and good guys don't kill. And he goes, but I do. Because Black Adam is very much an anti-hero at times and a straight-up villain at other times. But the one thing I thought, too, is we're watching...
Black Adam was an anti-hero at times?
Yeah, he was part of the Justice Society. Yeah. He has done some good. And once again, if it benefits him, he's more than willing to help out for the greater good. But he is more seen as a villain. But I think he's going to team up with the Justice Society, at least the members that are in this movie as a part. But as I was watching this, we've been hearing so much about studios having trouble getting all of their effects done. I thought the effects in this looked pretty dang good.
They do.
I was like,
that you're paused on right now, where he's like shooting lightning, looks really good.
Yeah, and all of it kind of looked really good. I didn't see anything that looked, bad or anything. So I was pretty happy with where this movie is, since it is, coming out in October. And then, we see that. I love this picture of Hawkman. We were talking offline, well, not offline, but outside of the stream, just about how great this Hawkman looks. This is more comic accurate than what we got in Legends of Tomorrow, which I enjoyed that show. It was probably the best, Arrowverse show out there for a while. But when they tried to do Hawkman and Hawkwoman, it just looked terrible, and they got him off the show quick. I think because they just couldn't handle on the TV budget how it looked. So it's good to see him like that now.
Actor?
No, different actor.
Now, what year frame is the Justice Society supposed to exist in this universe?
This universe, I don't know, but in the comics, they were more 50s and 60s.
Okay.
And then, the Justice League moved in later. So I don't know. Like, if you look at, I was looking at the buildings and stuff, and I do think this is going to take place in the past. We see Atom Smasher here, and he's running through buildings and stuff, and it looks like, I wanted to stop in that car. It looks like older cars. When you look at them, they're not too old, but they're not new cars. So I do think this is all taking place in the past.
Did you say Dr. Fate now?
Yeah, Pierce Brosnan is Dr. Fate. You see him right there.
Does he put on the helmet?
He just did. You'll see in a sec. Let me go back to it.
Oh.
It'll be paused here on him in a second. But you see him put on the helmet and become Dr. Fate.
Oh, very cool.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really hoping. I have high hopes for this movie. I've talked about it quite a bit. I love Dr. Fate. I love Black Adam. I love Hawkman. These are characters that I was always, up there for me in the DC universe. So now that they're going to all be here and kind of be a Justice Society and hopefully, do something to bring up the DCEU. Now that we may not get, Flashpoint to reboot it, but this may be something where we start pushing in the right direction. Along with the Suicide Squad and other things, start pushing in the direction of a shared universe, which doesn't have to be perfect.
I hope it's good. It's hard to say whether it's going to. Probably won't be perfect. I mean, not many of these movies are. But the one concern that I had about this, and I swear to God, I'm not trying to sound Snydery. But the one concern that I had about this is, at least from the trailer, and I hope this isn't the case with the final product, with the final movie, but from the trailer, I got these feelings that the tone was inconsistent. And I know that, for a lot of these superhero movies, they got to have a little bit of levity in there. They got to mix it up with the seriousness, because otherwise you do get, your Snyder crap movies. But in the trailer, at least, it looked like they would have a serious moment followed by a joke. And I was like, oh, I hope they don't do that in the actual movie. And so while everything looks really good, visually, it looks phenomenal, I am worried about the overall tone of the movie.
And I think, you can mix levity in with a serious movie, but I think it can also fail. When you look at Aquaman, Aquaman, the worst moments in that movie for me was when they were trying to be funny. It just didn't work. They should have dropped it and not even had that, and the chemistry between Amber Heard and Jason Momoa. But I mean, at least with
anybody, really.
Right. I was going to say the same thing.
You kind of get that scene where he's like, he gets hit in the head and he flings that guy out into the ocean, which I was like, okay, that's Black Adam. I hope they don't do it. But the scene with but before we get to that, as we're watching it, we also see a scene out of Iron Man, which I don't know. Twitter is really weird. You have your Marvel fans and then you have your DC fans, and DC fans are always like, Zack Snyder is the blueprint. And they'll take a scene from like a Zack Snyder movie and try to say Marvel's trying to imitate him by doing this. And it was funny because the Marvel people brought this up alongside the Iron Man scene where he's flying between the two jets. Exactly. And I'm just like, oh, both of you stop it. You can have it.
But DC has been, in many instances, we've talked about this, how their live action movies, they try desperately to imitate Marvel, but usually with no setup at all. Oh God. See, but okay, the difference between this scene and the scene in Iron Man is the fact that in this scene, Iron Man damaged that plane unintentionally. Like, he wasn't trying to hurt anybody. Black Adam did that on purpose.
Yeah. And then, the whole scene with Dr. Fate explaining to him, like, you are either going to be the savior of the world or the destroyer.
And you'll drive around in a tank and brand your enemies.
Yeah, yes. But, you know, this is one of those things where this is very Ryan Reynolds with Deadpool-esque. Dwayne Johnson, I think he has a nickname or something. Dwayne Johnson has been attached to this project, to this character for like 10 or 12 years.
He loves this character.
And he has been pushing to get it made. And I think he is almost probably the driving force into getting this finally made. So I hope it has the same success that Deadpool's had, because it was such a, you know, a love affair between Ryan Reynolds and the character and everyone who was a part of it. I hope this is the same thing. And I do think we see, you know, shades of this is going to be phenomenal at times. And then, you know, I understand your criticisms too, where, you know, you look at it, the whole scene where the people are in the car and he caught a rocket. Oh my God. I was like, do we really need that? Do we need the color commentary from, you know, normal citizens?
Or is this going to be X-Men Origins Wolverine, and we're going to have to wait 5 more years for a better Black Adam movie?
I hope not, but that is possible. And I really hope that we get, you know, at some point, you know, here's that scene with they're rolling up their windows when this god is basically in front of them. And then, you know, he shoots the missile, and I love the speed, like that whole scene where he sort of just flies to catch that away from the car. Like, he is smart enough to know that these people would die, you know, from this missile. So he's going to, you know, get far enough away from them so when it explodes, they're going to be safe. And I like that. That shows that, you know, he thinks of other people a little bit, and it might be good. But the fact that they're there to provide comic relief, I don't want to take it out of context. If we see it in the movie and it works because of other things, fine. Because I always find things in trailers that I'm not happy with, and then you see it in the movie, you're like, okay, that's a little better. I always point out, you guys have probably heard me say this 1,000 times, that scene in Captain America First Avenger trailer where he walks in with a shield blasting his gun, and I saw that in the trailer, and I'm just like, oh, that looks terrible. What are they thinking? And then you kind of see it as the montage in the movie, and you're like, okay, that wasn't so bad. I hope this is kind of the same thing.
That's what I'm saying.
And that looks like the Mystery Machine.
It does look like the Mystery Machine. Is that Velma?
That's kind of, you're right. But yeah, I'm not going to, you know, hate on it right now. I figure, all right, well, you know, maybe it'll be good. We'll have to see. We'll see if I enjoy it. Obviously, we're going to go see it in theaters when it comes out. Clearly, that is like our job at this point. But yeah, I like the visuals. I like the costume. Everything looks really good. Everything looks really good. So, at the very least, if I don't like, you know, if I don't like the story and if I don't like the tone of the movie, at the very least, everything will be very pretty.
Yeah. And that, you know, it's funny because I know these guys know, and if you follow us on Twitter, you know, I took the kids to see Jurassic World Dominion. My wife thought I said Jurassic World The Minions and wasn't sure what was going on. And honestly, it would have been a better movie if the Minions had been in it, I think. But the visual effects, it was like a Fallen Kingdom. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. The movie was filled with cliches. It was a terrible movie, but man, the CGI work was phenomenal. And it's the same in this one. I mean, this movie's better than Fallen Kingdom. Don't get me wrong. It's not a good movie in any way. But the CGI is like watching some of the stuff and some of the dinosaur fights and some of the things they do. And man, that VX team is just phenomenal. Couldn't save the movie, but I hope that's not the same with Black Adam. I hope we get the good visuals and the good story and, you know, something we can watch over and over.
I guess a good comparison could be like in Shazam. The visual effect choice for the 7 Deadly Sins were not the best.
Lacking.
That could have used some work. They could have spent a little bit more time maybe making those a little bit better, and it certainly wasn't the best looking movie. It looked more like something that probably should have been released on HBO Max rather than in the theaters. But the story itself is pretty good.
Yep. I enjoyed Shazam quite a bit. You're right. The budget that they got for that movie was nothing compared to what Dwayne Johnson was able to get for this movie. And I think a lot of it may
Was
have
it like
been
60 million or something?
no, I think it was
Hardly anything at all by today's standards.
it was like 110 million or something, which compared to all the other movies that coming out at the time, the lowest was coming in at like 300 300 million or something, and this one was
Yeah.
nothing compared to that, and it was very successful, so that's always good. So I don't know if who the actor being attached to it was. I mean, pretty much every movie that Dwayne Johnson is in does pretty well at the box office, so they were probably Hollywood being what it is. Well, every movie he's in makes enough money, so we can have a bigger budget for this. Hopefully, it pays off.
By the way, speaking of Dwayne The Rock Johnson being in successful movies, I will take this moment to publicly apologize to Dave right now for the shit that I gave the Jumanji movies because I thought they were going to be the dumbest thing in the world. I watched them online and they were actually pretty good.
I like them.
The
They
two
were-
new movies that they
They were
made,
pretty okay.
they were entertaining. I watched them with the kids. The first what was the first one? Not the original Jumanji with Robin Williams, which I thought was pretty good too.
Oh, I love that
Was
one
it-
too.
Was it the next level? Jumanji the next level, or was it Jumanji? Whatever it was, I remember watching with the kids, and I had no.
It was Jumanji Into the Jungle and then Jumanji The Next Level.
Yes, it was Into the Jungle when that came out, and I watched it with the kids, and I went thinking, maybe I'll sleep during this, maybe I'll get some shut eye, something like. But I was very entertained with it. I was like, damn,
Yeah.
they did a good job on this, and they did the same with the next level. I'm hoping that's a lot of Dwayne Johnson being able to read a script and say, hey, this is a pretty good project. I'll attach myself to it, and has a good idea of what's going to work.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't seen. I never saw Baywatch. I never saw.
Yeah, but you saw Jungle Cruise and you loved it.
I hated that movie. Oh
I
my
did not
God! I
watch that
forgot
movie.
about that. Thank you for reminding me.
I forgot about it too. I have not seen it.
Oh my God, that was terrible.
Was it bad?
My kids loved it. I was just like, oh my God, this is just the biggest pile of cliches in a row, nonstop being thrown at me. I watch it. I'm like, are they doing this on purpose? I'm like, no, they're thinking this is a good movie. Oh,
Yeah, they-
That's how some people write, man.
People
That's
patting
true.
each other on the back. Such a great idea.
and everything's
Jim, this is the
subjective.
best writing you've ever done.
And sometimes I think actors take roles that are like, this is going to make a bunch of money, so I don't care how bad it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
We will not besmirch his name, Doug. I can't remember. Oh no, I was just like, is there anything after the black Adam little emblem? There's not.
Yeah, Doug's got something.
No. I meant on the trailer. Yeah.
Oh,
Is there
Yes.
something you want me to
October
bring up
21st.
first? Out of the three things you sent me, is there something you want me to bring up first, sir?
Yeah, the image for Ectofest or whatever. It's Ghostbusters Day, I think.
We have it up.
All right.
You can start talking. It's up.
Oh,
You won't see it on
okay,
your screen,
1
though.
minute. Okay. All right. So, for those of you that that follow the world of Ghostbusters, first, let me start by saying this. I'm going to reiterate something that I said last week. Y'all need to calm down just a little bit. Okay, you can be a fan of something and not be a dick about it. So, got that out of the way. Now, onto the fun stuff. For those of you that follow all things Ghostbusters, it is a very expansive universe. And having to explain that to these two guys who just thought it was like a movie and didn't realize that it was video games, that it was comic books, several comic books, in fact, animated series, that it was this gigantic universe of nerddom that has perpetually existed and keeps on going and churning out more and churning out more. And yes, I definitely spent $100 on this toy over here, and I'm not even sorry about it.
Doug, I did know that there was video games because I've played quite a few of them. I just never knew there was comic books, which I still have to read. And I did, thanks to you, me and Sully were able to enjoy both the real Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters Extreme cartoons, because those were quality.
Now, let me ask you to this. Does this look more detailed and better than a $500 lightsaber?
It depends on the
Is that
$500
on the bottom?
lightsaber you're talking about.
This is only 100. Also made by Hasbro, by the way. So, I don't know what the hell they're
Hasbro.
thinking.
If you're talking about the Reva one that you showed us,
I am.
that is much more detailed.
Really? You think?
A
I
little.
think it looks like a plastic garbage. But anyway, so the image that you're seeing on the screen is for Ectofest, and that's because this past week we had Ghostbusters Day, which, if you recall, last year, not your status quo, we celebrated Ghostbusters Day. I actually opened up the Neutrona wand, and I also tasted some of the Ecto Cooler that we had. And
The
then
1987.
shortly after that, we ended up doing a giveaway of one of the graphic novels, and we went to go see Ghostbusters Afterlife. This year, for Ghostbusters Day, they had a gigantic convention. They called it Ectofest. And they dropped so much information. And Keith, if you would kindly switch it over to the graphic about the comic, I'd kind of like to start with that, because comics are definitely our forte on this channel. For those of you that do not know what Not Your Status Quo is all about, we talk about superheroes, comic books, that kind of realm. So I'm going to start with talking about what I think is some of the biggest news, and that is that the Ghostbusters are coming back to comics. They have actually had several comic book runs. Originally, they were a Marvel comic, believe it or not. And they had episodes of the real Ghostbusters basically put into comic book form. They also were on a very short-lived comic book series by a company called 88 Miles Per Hour, and they ended up going out of business, and so the run never finished, unfortunately. Then they moved over to what is the company name?
Image?
Think of it. Huh?
Image Comics?
Not Image.
Is it
It's
IO or something? IO Comics?
It's not Dark Horse.
No. They it was whatever. Oh my gosh, it's whoever does Sonic the
Valiant.
Hedgehog comics now. Hold on, give me
Valiant,
one
isn't
sec.
it?
Whoever does what comics now?
The new Sonic the Hedgehog comics.
If you say Valiant, I'm going to punch you in the face.
It starts with an I. It's not Galliant. It was. Oh, come on. Open up. You are so slow. Oh, it doesn't even say it here. Okay, well, I do not remember the company that they ended up moving to next, but they had a whole bunch of different storylines. So they basically expanded the story beyond the movies, and they brought in they created a Ghostbusters multiverse, and they even brought in the individuals from the Ghostbusters 2016 movie that was in the graphic novel that we gave away. They have interacted with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Great series. It was a shame when it finally ended its run and got canceled. But the big news now is that they are bringing a Ghostbusters comic book back. It is coming out under Dark Horse Comics, and they're the new license partner for Ghostbusters. And Reitman announced, the director of the movies, the son of Ivan Reitman, who directed the original movie. He announced that he's going to be overseeing the comics, and they will be in canon, and they're going to be released at some point next year. So we should all definitely be looking forward to it, because that means it's going to be a lot like the way the Star Wars comics run now, where they're overseen by
Lucasfilm. Lucasfilm.
Yeah, they're overseen by Lucasfilm, and they make sure that the comics are in universe and that they are canon. And that's going to be the case with these new Dark Horse comics that are coming out for Ghostbusters. They are going to live within the universe of Ghostbusters Afterlife, either taking place at some points before and also at some points after, to kind of fill in the gap between the new movie that is eventually going to be coming out. And,
which I read was not trying to steal your thunder, Doug.
Oh no, go ahead.
Which was kind of cool. It's tentatively titled Ghostbusters Firehouse,
Yes.
and they are moving back to New York.
Yep.
So I was like, that's good. I'm glad they're not going to take the success of Afterlife and have to have it in another small town somewhere else. Bring it back to its roots, and make it a Ghostbusters film, but make it different than Afterlife. We don't need to have A New Hope and Force Awakens with Ghostbusters.
So Ernie Hudson actually talked to Adaptive Fest a little bit about it. He said, and he quoted that it's going to be done the Ivan Reitman way. He teased that the future for Ghostbusters is in good hands, and I'm not allowed to tell you much more than that, but rest assured, we have a lot of ghostbusting ahead. I'll just say, if need be, the flight suit still fits. And that's really cool because they did set it up in the end credit scene in Ghostbusters Afterlife that he kind of owns the firehouse now. He sort of monitors it, and he's basically the sort of soul of the Ghostbusters at the moment. He even, when the others kind of stepped away and they went off to do their own things, his character, Ernie Hudson's character, Winston Zedmore, he basically kept things going. And they showed the very last scene in Afterlife was the containment unit and the firehouse with the red light blinking, meaning there might be trouble. And so, yes, I think calling it Firehouse, excellent, and I'm glad that you brought that up. That was, I think that's a cool reveal.
Yeah, I was very excited when you sent us over this. I totally forgot about Ghostbusters Day, and I was so excited with all these announcements because I've never read the Ghostbusters comics, but I am definitely. I'm going to try to catch up on some of the back ones, especially the one we gave away for Afterlife, because it was a very interesting looking comic. But I'm going to definitely pick up the new ones when they come out next year, because I've got a mini Ghostbusters fan in my house that I will definitely be reading to him, but enjoying them myself also.
Yeah,
I wonder if Dan Aykroyd is raking in all the money from that. Wasn't the whole Ghostbusters thing his idea?
It was, yeah. And go ahead, and if you want, while we're talking about this, switch to the next image, Keith. Okay. But yeah, Ghostbusters was his idea, but he says that he got the idea from his grandfather, who was, and if you look up all of the old interviews from when they were first talking about the original movie, he was mentioning how his grandfather was a clairvoyant, how their farmhouse is haunted, and he would go on and talk about all these stories. He even wrote a book about it, how basically all of these stories from his childhood growing up kind of led into him strongly believing this stuff. And it's kind of funny, like I appreciate him. I appreciate that he really truly believes and loves this stuff. Good for him, buddy. But listening to him like go on about it, and then looking at Bill Murray sitting next to him in the same interviews, just kind of like rolling his eyes, and like David Letterman or somebody saying, so hey Bill, what about you? And he's like, well, he really believes it. He believes it enough for all of us.
It's almost like coming back to Jurassic World Dominions from today. The best part of the movie was Jeff Goldblum and his character, because he's like, are you carrying a dinosaur on your back? There was one part in the movie where Chris Pratt's character is like, I made a promise to bring the kid back to its mom or whatever. And he's like, you made a promise to a dinosaur? Like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And I was just like, yes, he's speaking the truth.
That's one thing Goldblum is. He's just good in every movie he's in.
He really is. He was good. He was really good in Thor Ragnarok. He was hilarious.
And just so you know, there's rumors that he is showing up in Love and Thunder.
I hope so.
Oh, cool.
That'd be great. That'd be really cool.
You got the tingly fingers there. There's Thor, the King of Lightning or something.
I love how I love how he speaks when he's Jeff Goldblum in all of the movies. He doesn't play he's just Jeff Goldblum.
And The Fly, I think that's the first place I saw him was The Fly.
Oh,
it was just incredible.
Also,
that was way back in the '80s. That's mid '80s right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I first started watching flicks. What we lost Keith.
Oh, all right.
Let's go on about Sony Pictures Animation.
Yes. Okay. So the next thing and the last thing that I want to talk about in regards to Ectofest, because a lot of things are announced. I'm not going to get into, all of the toys and all the other things that have dropped. You can definitely look that stuff up. But as far as things that I think we would care about as a channel, the next big thing that they announced was that there was going to be a Ghostbusters animated feature film in collaboration with Sony Pictures. They've got a whole creative team that's been working hard on developing this thing, and it's near and dear to the late Ivan Reitman's heart, is the way that they put it. And this is a quote. This was a passion project of my father's. So this was Jason Reitman talking about his father. This was a passion project of my father's, and it's easy to understand why. The world of the unknown can only be properly explained through the limitless reach of animation. Jason Reitman told the crowd. Per Variety, Chris Prionsky, who is the executive producer of Beavis and Butthead to the Universe, and Jennifer Kluska of Hotel Transylvania are set to direct, with Brenda Sua, I'm probably going to mispronounce that last name, is the supervising producer. And they're on board right. Not much more about the film was revealed, but there were hints that new characters would be introduced. So I think that's really cool. I'm glad that they are bringing back the cartoon. That was a huge thing for me when I was a kid. So for those of you that do not know, I was born in the 80s. So Ghostbusters was huge for me as a kid because, let me tell you, when you were a kid in the 80s, they knew how to market the crap out of this stuff to you. Even though the original Ghostbusters movie was not intended for kids. That was never the intent. They're cussing, they're smoking, it's and drinking and everything. And for them to like full force, we're gonna make a cartoon, we're gonna make toys, we're gonna make juice and soda and cereal, and all of this is gonna be pushed at the kids. Let me tell you, my entire life in the mid to late 80s was Ghostbusters. And I loved the cartoon. Then they made a sequel cartoon series in the late 90s, early 2000s, which, in my opinion, was also really good. And so the fact that they are now coming, even though this is going to be a film and not a series, the fact they're still coming out with another animation, I'm looking forward to it. And if, now they said that this is in collaboration with Sony Pictures Animation, if this is as good as Into the Spider-Verse, which I will fully admit, Sony did amazing with. They sucked at Morbius, but Into the Spider-Verse was really good. So clearly animation must be like their forte.
Yeah, and
Keith, you're on mute.
Yep, I forgot I muted myself when I ran upstairs for a minute. But yeah, I was very happy they announced this too. When you sent that over, I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. I'm glad it's a movie. I hope it leads into maybe another show of some kind. But they are really going all out on Ghostbusters stuff, because you talked about video games earlier, and I don't know if you mentioned this. Sorry, I had to head upstairs for a minute. But they are coming out with a VR Ghostbusters game for the Oculus or the MetaQuest 2, whatever it's called. And I am looking forward to that. I am hoping it's great, because I think that'll be just the best possible Ghostbusters video game experience when it's VR.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, that's all that I really had. I just wanted to give, like, a real brief update on, what happened. Some of the big news that came out of Ectofest. Like I said, I'm not going to, go into detail about, the toys and all of that stuff. However, I will say, I guess, as, like, a final sort of wrap-up about this, they did give a few more images, a few more detailed images about the HasLab Proton Pack that was in development. I cannot remember how much that. I want to say that was like a $300 thing, and it is the way that they've designed this thing. It is almost a 1-to-1 recreation of the pack that was seen in Ghostbusters Afterlife. So I'm looking forward to seeing that come out. Again, HasLab, they can make some cool stuff. Some stuff it's a little weird, like when they re-release old Transformer toys. Sometimes I have to wonder, why do they think people are going to spend like hundreds of dollars on this? But every now and again, they do put out some cool stuff. And the images that they showed of these proton packs that they built, which are supposed to connect to the Neutrona one, looking forward to it. I think it's going to be really cool.
We may get another unpacking video from Douglas.
We may. We'll have to see.
I mean, when we get our official office space, we're gonna have like stuff like this all the time, just coming in.
We're going to be getting mail from fans. Oh hey, Brainiac Baseball joined us. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, he's made a few comments that I laughed at. Like,
Nice.
I'm not gonna dance. I'm not dancing. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, you're dancing, dude. It's a table read. You just stop.
180.
You checked your ego at the door, young man. There you go. And now that we got some new people, we just dropped down. We do have our question of the day if anyone is out there and would like to answer. We did get word that Marvel is going to be working on a Thunderbolts movie to go into production early next year. And what do you want to see out of it? So if anyone in the chat wants to answer, I talked about Bullseye being in it and Citizen Baron Zemo from Dave, who I certainly hope is Citizen V. There's just so much good stuff that went on with this comic because, we had talked about
Bucky right there in the front row.
Yep, Bucky led the Thunderbolts for a while. Even though they started out as the Master of Evils in disguise, they have changed with each iteration. Where Hawkeye led them for a while to try to, like after the whole thing went down and the people, Giant Man or Atlas and Songbird and Meteorite and all of them decided to go good and go against Zemo. Hawkeye kind of took over the team and wanted to lead them as hey, you guys, I know you've done a lot of bad. I started out as a bad guy, so let's lead them in. The Punisher has been a part of the Thunderbolts from time to time. He's worked with them. I don't know if he's ever been an official member, so the Punisher would be awesome to see in that.
He doesn't seem like a joiner.
He's not, but he's worked with them at times to kind of help. But, Hawkeye's led him at a time. The Winter Soldier has led him at a time. Luke Cage has been a part of them. Elektra, Ghost Rider. There's been so many people because it started out as the Masters of Evil in disguise, but it's turned into an almost legitimate government-run team where someone like Val could recruit heroes. Like, I'm sure we're going to see U.S. Agent. I'm sure we're going to see Yelena Belova. I'm sure we're going to see the Abomination. They're not bringing him back for these little cameos in Shang-Chi and back in She-Hulk just for fun.
Marvel
they're
has
bringing them.
all but said that this is the plan. The fact they keep bringing up Val and showing her, at the end of Captain America: The Winter Soldier, the fact that they showed her recruiting him, clearly that was for a reason. The fact that they showed her talking to Yelena had to be for a reason. Like, I think going back to, you said this earlier in our stream, I really do think that whoever is going to be the quote unquote leader of this team, I think it's going to be her, and I think this is definitely going to be a government run version of the Avengers, something that they have more control over, something that is American.
So she's kind of like Amanda Waller.
Yeah,
basically, yeah. Yeah, I can say that.
Except for these aren't.
He's setting up her own Suicide Squad.
Yeah, these people aren't on death row or anything, but
No.
the rest of it fits.
Yeah, they just want
They
someone
are
they can control.
all outcasts, for sure.
The only one that wasn't, if you see in the picture between the Skrull and Songbird and Mach 5, Jolt. Jolt joined the team.
In the picture, right, yeah.
Yeah. Joined the team not knowing who they were. And she was one of the main catalysts that helped a lot of them become good. So I do hope we see Jolt in it too, because, I think what she could add to the story would be very interesting. But,
it would definitely add for that dynamic of having the person who truly does want to do good. It would be like, I guess, like The Boys in a way, where you've got Starlight who truly wanted to be a hero and truly thought that she was there to help save people and save the day, and she wanted to do good and join the Seven to actually be a hero, whereas the rest of the Seven were actually like, yeah, no, that's not really what we're about. We're a marketing thing. We do movies and we sell products, and we quote unquote save people sometimes, but we cause more collateral damage. I have a feeling that's what the Thunderbolts is basically going to be, with a few less cuss words and probably a little bit less blood.
Yeah, they're going to be the ones that have signed the Slovakia. No, God, why can't I say that word? Sokovia.
Accords,
Sokovia, yes.
And the only way the Punisher could be in it is if John Barenthal plays him. We were talking about passing the torch, but I don't think he's run his course yet.
Ever
He
since
did a good job in those Netflix series.
ever since we saw the picture of Kristen Ritter and Mike Coltier, and people saying that they're showing up in She-Hulk or they're going to show up in Secret Invasion, I'm like, God, bring everyone back, but but Danny Rand. But now I want him back because he's going to be a Skrull.
As a Skrull.
He's going to be a Skrull. And he's going to come back, and Iron Fist will actually be Tom Welling.
Tom Welling. Huh.
I could see him doing that. That'd be all right.
Maybe.
He's kind of getting up there in age, though.
Well, he did. Well, it was like 5 years ago, so I don't know if it's still out there. But he did confirm that he locked down a Marvel position. I think, didn't we? We talked about that. I don't think anything ever came of it.
Huh.
I think he was in talks with Marvel for something. But yeah, I don't think. Well, we know nothing. He's not been in something, but it could be something down the road too. They plan things out years in advance, so
He'll be a Skrull.
a Skrull Superman, that'd be awesome.
Right.
Or Hyperion. Oh, there's been a lot of talk about Henry Cavill either being Captain Britain or Hyperion. Hyperion is the Superman from the Squadron Sinister, which is a knockoff of the Justice League, and Hyperion is the Superman. But I could see Tom Welling being Hyperion too. That would be kind of interesting.
Having played Superman for 10 years.
Yep. That would be a nice little nod. That would be very cool. Because we've been hearing about, there was...
I didn't say the name of the show. I didn't.
It had to be so, though.
And I had to draw it out of him to even... I mean, we're like, who had 2 hours and 39 minutes that he would finally mention?
I haven't said anything about R&M.
Every guess was like 15 minutes, 5 minutes. But, you know, that'd be cool. Because if Henry Cavill came as Hyperion, that'd be cool. And that'd be like a very symbolic thumbing of their nose at DC. But if Tom Welling did it, that'd be a nice little nod to, you know, his run as Superman. And I think, like, DC fans wouldn't be as up in arms as... Because, you know, there's so many DC fans that are upset that Henry Cavill is no longer playing Superman.
There are DC fans that are upset that Zack Snyder isn't running the entire freaking company.
That would be a huge mistake.
It would. It definitely would.
We want our dark, angry superheroes.
But just so you know, I would be all for Zack Snyder directing a Squadron Sinister movie for the MCU because they act like Zack Snyder's Justice League, so he would probably do a pretty good job of it.
Yeah, but you would only be able to watch it on a little viewfinder. You'd have to click it.
Oh my God!
Look, it's in full 4:3 sepia.
Don't do it! Don't do it! Oh my God! They did it!
Oh man, I'm at the end of this one. Got to put in the next one. Okay.
Oh, here's a good question from Brainiac Baseball. Since you brought it up, if John Travolta was in his heyday now, which superhero character would he be?
Ooh, he says, I think Loki, huh? Wow, John Travolta.
He has the look. He has a look that he could play Loki.
He can definitely pull off playing like more chaotic or villainous type people.
Now, he said superhero, he didn't say MCU, so we can pick anybody.
No, right?
Yeah. But yeah, he definitely has a bit of he's got like, I remember him in Look Who's Talking of all movies. And he had like a kind of a skeevy smirk all the time. So I could see him playing like, you see. So you're thinking it could be either DC or Marvel. Is that what you said, Dave?
Yep.
All right.
I'm thinking of his character in Face Off.
I could see him
Broken
as
Arrow.
playing, oh my God, Booster Gold.
See, I'm thinking the way with his character from Pulp Fiction, very laid back, he could be the Hood.
Oh.
Who was basically a demonic hoodlum from the MCU. He was like a petty criminal who basically bonded with a demon to get supernatural powers.
Oh, okay. That'd be good. Yeah, I could see that.
I don't know, because I picture him as the villain in the first Punisher movie with Thomas Jane.
Uh-huh.
It's hard for me to picture him as a good guy.
So that's why I said Booster Gold, because in his initial when he first showed up in comics, he was a hero, but for the wrong reasons. Because in the future, he was just a terrible hero. He was like the worst. So he brought his future technology to the past, thinking, "Well, I'll show all these people, and I'm going to get rich and famous." And so I could see him pulling off a move like that, where he's pretending to be a hero, but like he really doesn't give a shit.
You didn't see Booster Gold on Smallville, did you?
I did not. No.
One of these days, we're going to have Doug watch Smallville.
So I've seen a couple of episodes, like here and there. I haven't watched the entire series.
You have to
Good.
watch it 10 times,
Really good.
as many as Dave has.
Oh Lord, I don't have enough. Oof,
Nobody has enough time.
I don't have enough
Nobody.
time for that. Have you
Yeah,
seen all the
pathetic.
shows that we have to watch? We got to watch Miss Marvel. We got to watch The Boys. We got to watch Obi-Wan. We're gonna have what's the next series we got coming out soon?
Constantine?
We got Constantine.
What?
Yeah, that show with Jenna Coleman.
No, that's Sandman. She
Yeah,
plays.
It's about Constantine.
Well,
Oh,
she's in it, but it's the Sandman. There's
Yeah.
a lot more going on.
I was
But
about to
you know,
say.
we got Sandman. Yeah, Neil Gaiman did it.
Yeah.
And then, well, we got She-Hulk coming out. We got Thor: Love
That's
and
right,
Thunder.
Yeah.
We got The Boys, Obi-Wan, Miss Marvel. We got The Bad Batch season 2 coming out at some point. There
That's
is
right.
an absolute crap ton of things coming out.
Andor.
That
Good.
is so much.
Oh, yeah, Andor.
Right? Oh my gosh, we did an entire live stream about Star Wars, all the Star Wars stuff coming out, and it's already starting to slip out of my poor rotting brain.
And wait until we get to December when Keith gets all excited about the new avatars.
Avatars.
Once again, much like Jurassic World Dominions, the CGI in that trailer looked incredible. So once again, it'll be a visual
movie
spectacle.
can't do it.
No, probably not. It'll be so much like the first one, where it's all style, no real substance.
Next
You
week
don't
on
know
Not Your
that.
Status Quo, we watch Fern Gully.
Yes,
I like Avatar. I don't know. I don't care.
I didn't hate
I
it.
like
I liked it. I just don't think it was as great as everybody, says it was. It wasn't any, like, I didn't sit there and watch and be like, this is terrible. But I wasn't like, I was
I
like,
wonder
It's all- it's
if, because I'm kind of the same way. It was okay. It wasn't great. I wonder if we would have seen it in theaters. Because
Oh, you
I
didn't
also
see it in the theater?
no, I was in the Army when it came out.
Oh, I saw it in 3D in the theater, and
I
that
watched it. I watched
amazing.
a pirated copy on some dude's laptop. That was the first time I ever saw it. I mean, a totally legit. We do not. Not Your Status Quo is not pro piracy at all.
Hey, well, that was before you started here, so it didn't happen.
Oh, okay.
plus you were overseas in the Army at the time, so it wasn't a U.S. crime.
Oh, right. Okay.
Right, you were in international waters. You could have done whatever you wanted.
I was in international sands. Let's be fair.
Okay, Anakin.
It gets everywhere. Of course. It really does, though.
By the way, it's funny you say that.
I do.
Did you guys see that Mark Hamill had a tweet out for Hayden Christensen's birthday, I think, saying happy birthday to the best dad in the world or whatever, saying all that stuff. And one of his hashtags was no sand.
What?
One of his
didn't
hashtags was no sand.
That's
No
beautiful.
sail?
No,
No
sand.
sand.
Oh, no sand. Oh, God. Well, so far you can't even really tell that that's Hayden Christensen. It couldn't have been anybody. But, I wanted to take a picture that I didn't take. I should have, but when he was in the back of the tank, when Obi-Wan was, and they flashed back to Hayden Christensen, Anakin being in the back of the tank, you could see right here where his cap ended. I was going to take a picture and send it, but apparently you guys saw it too.
I didn't. So,
Somebody posted it online. I did.
Yeah.
yeah, for those of you that don't know, I'm having eye surgery in July at some point. I have a cataract in one of my eyes, so my vision isn't quite as good as it used to be in my youth. So yeah, I didn't notice that at all. I was like, that's awesome. So it's funny. I talk about all the good CGI. It could be just garbage. And I'm just like, man, they really
That looks incredible.
So
like
is this just how back to tanks work? Do they make you flashback to your past? Because we saw that in Book of Boba Fett too.
No, I think it's more. It's like an isolation tank where your thoughts come up, and it's basically, especially with what was going on with Boba Fett and what's going on with Obi-Wan at the time. That's why those flashbacks came up. That's how I saw it.
I'm gonna need like some minor side character that like has never been introduced to be put in the back to tank, and then their flashback is just, do I want the blue milk? Do I want the pink milk? And then they wake up out of the back to tank. Oh God, I made the wrong decision.
And the little bunny from Quick shows up. Like strawberry.
But yeah, I think that needs to be like just some like Star Wars side story is back to tank flashbacks, but they're completely inconsequential, like nothing burger stories.
They could be like the flashbacks in WandaVision, like the commercials.
Oh yeah,
Right. But even less meaningful.
Yes.
Like, you're not going to see Mephisto everywhere.
Oh, we're gonna see Mephisto everywhere
In Star Wars. That's where he'll finally show up.
Yes.
Like
The
hanging
sex
out on
force,
like
Doom Patrol.
some moon somewhere, like, hey guys, what's up? No, I'm just waiting. I'm supposed to be somewhere else.
Actually, we know
Eeyore's in it now too.
That's just what Mephisto sounds like.
we know where he's gonna show up. In the soon-to-be-released masterpiece on Netflix, Rebel Moon, the Zack Snyder Star Wars film.
God. Oh Lord, boy, oh boy.
Lower today.
We don't have to review that, do we?
No, we don't. We can if we
No.
want, but we don't have to.
Are
Just
we
so you
going
know,
to?
just so you know, Sir Anthony Hopkins has joined the cast.
Well,
So,
there's
yeah,
we
we still want to.
credibility. What?
Because Zack Snyder, to his defense, has made some films I have enjoyed. 300 is one of
Cool.
them. Sucker Punch and 300.
Yep.
Yeah,
Uh,
300 much more
No.
than Sucker Punch, but Sucker Punch was entertaining.
I didn't like Sucker Punch. That was another movie that to me it looked pretty, but I didn't like the story if there really was one.
Yeah, it was kind of convoluted, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was entertaining while I watched it. I wasn't like
It was just nice to look at.
I mean,
That was. I did
That's
see that in
pretty
theaters. That was, and I did see it with 3D glasses, so I was able to appreciate all.
Sucker
the
Punch?
Sucker Punch, yeah.
Okay. That's the first movie that I saw, released on Thursday at
Really?
midnight. Yeah, that was the first one I saw. I think that was 2006, 2007, somewhere in that range.
No, it had to have been Sucker Punch.
Yeah.
That had to have been 2010. I thought.
Somebody look that up. I think it was, it's got to be like...
Because I
6
think
or
I
7.
saw that in Georgia when I was living
So I
there.
saw Iron Man and that was 2008.
Bless you.
thank you.
Didn't mute that one, Keith. Nice.
Yeah, well, because I was on my phone. Sucker Punch was 2011.
I thought it was
2011?
later than that. Yeah.
It must have been Iron Man 2 that I saw at the theater at midnight then. Because Iron Man 1 was 2008.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember I used to go to the theater quite a bit because in downtown Augusta, Georgia, there really wasn't that much to do. So I went to the theater quite a bit. And that was a movie that I went to go see, I think, like a Saturday during the day or something. And went to see the 3D version of the movie. And it was it was fine. But I remember I had seen Sucker Punch after I had... It definitely was one of those movies that I watched after I'd already seen Inception. Because I remember when I was talking about it, I referenced Inception. I was like, what in the holy hell of Inception were they thinking with this damn movie? And I think at the time, I didn't realize that was a Zack Snyder movie.
Probably
had
not.
no
I
idea.
didn't.
It
I
just,
had
to
no
me,
idea.
the story didn't make any sense, and I was like, I don't know what the hell was going on. It was, like you said, very convoluted, but it was very nice looking. Like, I liked the whole clockwork Nazi soldiers or whatever the hell those were.
Yeah. I like that whole story. I like the way she's taking on like the big samurai. None of it made any sense.
No.
None of it. I wouldn't give him any like accolades for great story, but I was thoroughly entertained. I thought it was a good movie. And that, you know, usually I look for a plot, but for that one, I was just entertained. And because it had no backstory, I didn't
Not
know
really.
about any of it before I saw it. You know what I mean?
Wasn't that based off a comic too?
I
Or was
think
that
it
an original story?
I don't know. What do you know, Keith? I think it was.
I don't think it was. I think it was an original story.
Huh. All right.
Even kudos if it was, you know.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
if it's a convoluted story, you had to do a lot of because there were 3 levels to that story.
Yes.
You know.
4.
Yeah, it was
There's
his first
the-
You've
film.
got her in the mental institute. Then you've also got the dancing story. Then you've got each one of the adventures that she goes on within the dancing story.
And then there was the actual reality. So yeah, 4.
Yeah, the reality
is-
was in the mental institute, right?
Just so you know,
Yes.
it is Snyder's first film based on an original concept.
Okay, so he. Oh, wow. All right. All right. Well, then I will give him credit for that.
When was 300 then?
300 was also based on a comic.
Right. And but I just want to know if it was before
2006. It was 5 years before.
I
Did you
don't
hear
Yeah,
remember
that dude
if I-
who narrated that movie was excellent. Wasn't he in Lord of the Rings too? Yeah, he was
Yeah.
Faramir.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I don't remember
Yeah,
if I
he
saw
found
300 in theaters or not.
He found his role, and that's a perfect role for that actor. He was actually Danny Rand's father on Iron Fist, Netflix.
Huh, what a shame.
No, he did a good job.
Yeah, he was
just
good.
didn't-
So was
Hey, he might
Meacham.
have done a good job, but that's a terrible series.
All right. Well, it is getting near to 3 hours on, gentlemen. It is probably time
Oh,
we
wow.
get out of here. Great stream. We'll have this up on YouTube in a couple days. So if you're watching this on YouTube now, thanks for tuning in.
At
But
least
we will.
24 hours out.
Yep. We will be back next Sunday night to talk about more Obi-Wan, more Miss Marvel, more The Boys, anything else that pops up this week. You never know what you're going to get. You get Black Adam, Ghostbusters. We're everywhere and anywhere. So thanks for watching. We have no one to raid tonight because no one we know is on.
But hey, you know what? Make sure that you share with all of your friends. Let them know about us. That way we can all join in on the live stream together. Visit our YouTube channel. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, MySpace. That weird thing maybe that Trump does. I don't know. We're all
Truth Social. We're definitely
Yeah,
on
sure.
Truth
We're probably
Social.
there.
Crucial. And of course, we'd love to see you all join us in the chat so we can have a more rounded conversation.
Yes, we would like to hear your
Absolutely.
opinion. Absolutely. Good night, everybody.